First on-track activity, as you can see the yellow flag being held aloft down the front straightaway here at 16th and Georgetown. That will go green in just a matter of moments as it's time to go qualifying here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It is for the Indy Lights Series presented by Cooper Tires. My name is Greg Rakestraw, and for the rest of the morning, I'll be joined by the voice of the road to Indy in Rob Howden. Good to see you again, my friend. Good morning.
Greg, great to be here. What a gorgeous day, too. Hopefully it'll stay and we get this blue sky. But right now, just a beautiful day. A little cool, but again, it's going to be great for qualifying for the drivers here in Indy Lights.
All right, so Indy Lights yesterday, one qualifying session, one race. That race was won by Robert McGinnis, his first in the series. Life-changing moment in a young driving career.
You know, when we saw the interview with Katie Hargett afterwards, you could see the emotion that it was in his eyes. I actually thought the tears might have been coming there because to win your first race in Indy Lights, it's just a signal of great things to come. But to do it here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, I think makes it even more special.
From a standpoint of the driver order yesterday in the race, again, we're going qualifying. These guys will go racing early this afternoon. Robert McGinnis, your winner. Oliver Askew, and you're on the onboard camera of the Andretti Autosport driver as we speak. He finished second. Rinus VeeKay third. Ryan Norman fourth. Zachary Clayman fifth. David Malukas sixth. Toby Sowery in seventh. Dalton Kellett in eighth. Lucas Cole ninth. And those are the 9 car and driver combinations you'll be seeing for the next 30 minutes.
I think one of the most interesting things, Greg, is we've had 4 different winners now in Indy Lights to start off the season. 5 races, 4 different winners. Oliver Askew, the only double winner, sweeping the weekend in Austin, Texas at the Circuit of the Americas. But to add Robert McGinnis now to the winners list, I think is huge. And for him, let's see if he can do what Colton Herta did last year, and that was win both races at the Grand Prix weekend and then go on to win the Freedom 100. So he's the only guy that's going to have a chance to do that, having won the opening round. But I know Robert with a lot of momentum right now, a lot of confidence. A lot of times in this road to Indy, when a driver wins the first end of the doubleheader, they often come back and win the second end because they've got so much confidence going into race number 2.
Point standings updated through yesterday's race. Oliver Askew leading the point standings, 123 points. 9 points back of him, Rinus VeeKay. 8 points back, Robert McGinnis jumps up into 3rd place in the point standing. Zachary Clayman DeMello 4th, Toby Sowery 5th. And again, for those that may not have been with us a day ago, let's emphasize why, frankly, you and I will emphasize all day long how every lap, how every pass can affect the point standings.
It is exactly that. We've had times here in the Indy Lights program where drivers at the end of a championship battle, it was Jack Harvey and Gabby Chavez, they were tied in points at the end of the year to see who was going to win the scholarship to go IndyCar racing. It ended up being Gabby Chavez, not being based on wins, which was the first tiebreaker. They both had the same amount of wins. It was second place finishes. So every point counts. You look back in the season when you're in the middle of a battle for the championship coming down the line, that pole position is worth 1 point. Fast lap in the race is worth a bonus point as well. 30 points to win, but those bonus points can make or break a championship.
And of course, when you say Gabby Chavez, we've seen him at the top rung of the IndyCar series over the years. Obviously, Jack Harvey, what a day he had yesterday, as he'll be starting awfully close to the front in the number 60 machine coming up in the IndyCar Grand Prix later this afternoon.
That was a super exciting knockout qualifying session for IndyCar yesterday, no doubt about that. Felix Rosenqvist obviously doing a great job, a former driver in the Indy Lights program. He's I think a 2 or 3-time winner, one at St. Petersburg, one in Toronto. Again, he was with Belardi Auto Racing, but we always love seeing our Indy Lights graduates do well, with Jack Harvey and Felix Rosenqvist, of course, stars of the Indy Lights program.
Let's talk about the conditions. Again, they're a bit chilly. The skies are lovely. The pictures are fantastic. Our ambient temperature currently is 48 degrees. Track temperature 54 degrees. What does that mean for these car and driver combinations?
Well, we're not going to see any fast laps going down right now. That's pretty much it. It'll take a while for these drivers to get the heat built into these Cooper tires before they lay it down. It's a 30-minute session for Indy Lights. This will be our last qualifying run of the weekend. We go main event racing for the remainder of the day. We obviously had the first 3 races, all 3 of our programs with their first event in the books yesterday. But again, it'll just take them a little longer to get these tires up to temperature, and the drivers will make sure that they do that with care as well, because that's part of a fast lap, making sure you bring those tires up to temperature correctly.
Just about 5 minutes into our 30-minute qualifying session. Most cars 1 or 2 laps so far that they have turned. How many laps do you think these guys will turn in this session, Rob?
I'm going to say probably 15. I think we were up to 15 yesterday, a number of drivers. It depends on whether or not how much time they need to spend in the pits, obviously. You know, there'll be a 4 or 5 minute pit stop, whether they make any major changes to the cars or not. Again, they're, like you said, Greg, they're going to have to deal with the new weather here. The sun is out, but it's extremely chilly still here this morning. So it will change a little bit of the way they approach the setup for this race, and again later on today as well.
You will see these same drivers coming up in 13 days. The Freedom 100, of course, has become part of the Carb Day tradition here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Then this series is off for about a month till we get to Road America up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Then they will run twice in the month of July, a pair of races at both Toronto and Mid-Ohio. They'll go back oval track racing when we go to Gateway towards the end of August. Portland, Laguna Seca, the final 2 stops in the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires. All in all, 18 races for these drivers, and that is vital as they continue to develop their skills and get track time and hopefully make that jump to the NTT IndyCar Series.
Yeah, we really love the schedule this year. Some fantastic venues. And one of the big things is we normally have 3 oval races for our drivers in Indy Lights. One oval race for USF2000, 2 oval races for Indy Pro 2000, then to really get our drivers trained up to be ready for the IndyCar program, usually 3 oval races for Indy Lights. We weren't able to get the schedule dialed in correctly. We dropped Iowa this year. That was to add Laguna Seca, to add the Circuit of the Americas. So just the 2 oval races for Indy Lights drivers. But as you said, the Freedom 100 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then they'll run at Gateway as well.
Toby Sowery, currently the fastest time on the track. And as, again, in typical fashion, I say that, somebody turns a faster lap. Rinus VeeKay now has a lap sub 1 minute and 18 seconds. Again, he finished 3rd in yesterday's race, so a podium finish a day ago for the young driver from the Netherlands.
Rinus VeeKay, our reigning Indy Pro 2000 champion as well. He has the Soul Red colors on the car. That's to honor his sponsor, Mazda, which paid for the scholarship last year. Mazda no longer with us as a partner, but still sponsoring those drivers with the scholarship, which is so much a part of our program here. Champion winner in the Indy Lights program, winning a 3-race program in the 2020 NTT IndyCar Series, including the Indianapolis 500. And so many of these drivers looking to potentially follow in the footsteps of the drivers who have been able to use that and piggyback that into a full-time ride in IndyCar.
Again, fans, this is just the start of a flurry of on-track activity, not only during the course of the day, but especially this morning. Literally about 6 minutes after this qualifying session concludes, we'll begin introducing the drivers of the USF2000 series as they will have their second race of the weekend here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So again, you will see racing action from all 3 ladder series in the road to Indy before the NTT Indy cars take to the track for a practice session first at 11:15. But obviously the main event, the IndyCar Grand Prix, that comes your way just after 3:30 this afternoon.
The great thing about the road to Indy, Greg, is for spectators, the fans, they get a chance to see the future stars of the NTT IndyCar Series on their way up the ladder while they're developing. Great opportunity to meet them. We did have our autograph session yesterday, and it was heavily attended. We had a lot of fans out there, which was really good. Get a chance to meet these young drivers, and as I told them, this was your chance to have met a Colton Herta or a Pato O'Ward while they were on the way up the ranks, and we had a lot of really excited fans meeting our drivers yesterday.
All 9 drivers pretty much up to speed at this point, so let's go through the speed charts. And the Andretti cars doing very well so far here. Askew, McGinnis, and Norman going 1, 2, 3. Again, Askew had the fastest time, 1:16.1045, his quickest time to this point. But there is all of about a second separating the top 7 cars. And one more time, Rinus VeeKay jumps to the top of the speed chart, 1:15.8391.
Rinus VK, as I said, last year's champion in the Indy Pro 2000 category, running for Juncos Racing in the number 21 machine. A winner at the second end of the doubleheader at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. One of our 4 winners we've already had here this year. 5 races, 4 winners. Oliver Askew swept the weekend at Cota, the Circuit of the Americas. Zachary Clayman for Bilardi Auto Racing got things off to a great start in St. Petersburg, winning the opening round. And then, of course, Robert McGinnis adding his name to that list of victors here in 2019 with his impressive win yesterday.
Rinus just 18 years of age.
Pretty impressive, is it?
Beyond impressive, frankly.
Oliver Askew leading the way by just over 1/10 of a second. VK second, McGinnis third. Ryan Norman, as Greg said, P4. David Malukas for BN Racing now into the 5th spot. Zachary Clayman in 6th. Toby Sowery in 7th. Dalton Kellett 8th. And Lucas Cole in the 9th spot. Cole, a driver who spent 3 years in USF 2000, had a solid run last year with Pabst Racing, was looking at Indy Pro 2000, but elected to jump all the way to Indy Lights as kind of maybe a year that he was going to just kind of settle in and develop. The program, Indy Lights, gets a lot of coverage down in Brazil. That's where Lucas is from, and the idea was to be able to get that coverage, kind of build up some sponsorship support down there in Brazil to be able to maybe come back and challenge for the front of the grid next year, and I like that approach for Lucas. A really cool young man, works with Roberto Moreno, and with Bilardi Auto Racing, he's got a team where he can kind of grow into.
Really balanced effort so far in terms of times from these 9 drivers, but also in terms of number of laps run by these drivers. Everybody has run 6 or 7 laps so far in this session. And again, we still have 18 minutes of qualifying time left to go before the checkered flag would fly at 9 o'clock. Oliver Askew currently into pit lane. He is second quick. And Rinus VK was already atop the speed chart, but has just run a faster time. So we're seeing he and Askew flip back and forth, but consistently running quick times here in this qualifying session.
Greg, a good lap there for Zachary Clayman, too, the Canadian driver for Bilardi Auto Racing in the white and red number 13 machine. Zachary Clayman, I always find it interesting. People think that he's been running for so long in cars because he ran a number of IndyCar races last year. Really, only his 4th year in cars. He started in 2016, came right out of karting, essentially right to Indy Lights. He had done some testing in Formula Renault and a couple of programs in Europe, did a couple of races, but nothing serious, not a full season whatsoever. Jumped straight into the program with Juncos Racing, then ran with Carlin the next year, then jumped to IndyCar last year. He has come back to the series here, wasn't able to get the funding together to do a full IndyCar program. The concept, come back here, see if you can't win that scholarship to, again, springboard yourself back to the big stage.
By the way, McGinnis now has his fastest time of the morning. He has jumped to 2nd on the speed charts. McGinnis, Askew, and Norman all currently in pit lane. Lucas Cole has run a bit of a quicker time. He is currently in 7th, and VK, again, has just improved his time, remains quickest. Just shaved a 1/10 of a second off of that last lap time.
Rinus continues to drop these times lower and lower. Again, the temperature's coming up in those tires. They're comfortable now. Only 49 degrees here, ambient temperature, 57 degree the track temp. VK looking good here, though. Engines love this cool weather, though, I'll tell you that. These they build lots of horsepower when it's nice and cool like this. 115.379, about a 1/10 quicker than Robert McGinnis. So Rinus VK, got to feel like he's up against the juggernaut right now, having to battle those 3 drivers from Andretti. But Zachary Clayman in there as well. He's gone back to P4. But McGinnis, Askew, Norman, and Kellett all into pit lane right now.
9 drivers here in the Indy Lights events this weekend. You'll see 14 in the Indy Pro 2000 Series, 21 in the USF 2000. Literally at the halfway point, the 15th minute of this qualifying session. Down the front straightaway, that was David Malukas, currently 6th quick of the 9 cars you're seeing take laps currently here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Qualifying record, Ed Jones from 2016, a 114.6, so still about 0.7 of a second off that track record that Ed Jones set, racing with Carlin. Rinus VeeKay up top, though. And see what happens. Now they're going to come into the pit lane. This is where they'll take some time in the pits, potentially bolt on some fresh rubber to try to go out and see if they can't get that pole position, make a couple changes to the car, and go to work. Rinus VeeKay, as we said, a 10th quicker than Robert Megennis, yesterday's winner. Robert qualified on pole for yesterday, his first pole in his Indy Lights career. First win in Indy Lights as well. Second win on the road to Indy. Robert was a victor at St. Petersburg as well in the USF2000 program a couple of years ago. But definitely got the pressure off. That's one thing I talked to Robert about later on in the day, just to have that, that big weight off your shoulders, trying to win here. And once you get that first victory, you can just take a big, deep breath and know that you can go back at it and go and do it again. I think for some drivers, it's proven to yourself that you can do it. But the trust level with the team as well, once they know that you have the ability to win for them, I think they push maybe a little bit harder.
The Andretti cars are heading back out. Megennis and Askew getting ready to exit pit lane. Right now, a second separates top from bottom, 1 through 9 here in the Indy Light Series presented by Cooper Tires. And these drivers will be back on the track later this afternoon as their race, 35 laps or 60 minutes, begins at 1:15.
Greg, all three of our teams represented in the top 4 as well. Rinus VeeKay, P1 for Juncos Racing. Robert Megennis and Oliver Askew, second and third for Andretti Autosport. And then Belardi Auto Racing with Zach Kleiman in that 4th position. So all three of the teams in the Indy Lights paddock with a spot right now in the top 4. But you're going to see some changes here pretty soon, because as drivers start coming out with fresh rubber, once they get them up to temperature, we are going to see some action here on the timing grid. 1:15.379 fast time thus far for Rinus VeeKay, but with the ability to make some changes, put on some fresh rubber, those times are going to fall.
We saw Megennis and Askew run so much together a day ago. That was the 1-2 finish yesterday in race number 1 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Greg, top 3 drivers in the order right now. Also great examples of the product that we are able to develop here for the road to Indy. All 3 of those drivers, VeeKay, Megennis, and Askew, came through USF2000, went through Indy Pro, and are now into their 3rd rung here of the road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. As I said, Zachary Kleiman went straight into Indy Lights, as did Ryan Norman. He did some Atlantic Championship racing and then came straight into Indy Lights. That's Toby Sowery firing things back up. He rolls down pit lane in the number 2 for BN Racing. Great to have Toby here with us. He was a surprise entry very late. Actually got the call, I believe, the week of St. Petersburg to fly over on Monday and come race at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, and he was a star. He was on the podium, did a tremendous job, was running down the leaders both races, and has been a great surprise. Great addition to our lineup here for 2019.
Ryan Norman, Rinus VeeKay, both heading back onto the race course. Dalton Kellett heading down the front straightaway.
So 1:15.3 will be the time to beat now. I have no doubt that we'll do it. Drivers making the adjustments to the cars, maybe a minor wing change, whatever it may be. Here comes the number 79 of David Malukas as well, a winner last year in Indy Pro. He swept the weekend at Road America. Robert Megennis back on track. Let's see what happens here when the times start to fall. They're still just warming the tires up at this point here. I would say be a little ginger on the throttle for the first couple of laps, especially on exit. Get that power rolled down. The key to qualifying for these drivers as well is that combination of having the tire temperatures exactly right. You've hit the tire pressures, and once those tires get into that optimum window, you've got open racetrack. The car is as light as possible on fuel, and then at that point, the driver's got to lay down the lap. So everything has to work right to be able to get a pole position here in the Indy Lights program, very similar to that of the IndyCar Series as well. You have to put it all together. That one magic lap. We always hear drivers talk about that, Greg, that they weren't able to maximize the tires. I wasn't able to get the most out of my reds or whatever it may be. The same goes here as these drivers have to maximize their tires. When those tires are perfect, you have to put that lap down.
Approaching 10 minutes left to go in this qualifying session.
Being told that we had a spin in turn number 13. A driver able to continue. And again, on cold tires, pretty easy to do when you're rolling on the throttle coming back through 13. Ten minutes to go in the session. We'll see drivers start to fire things back up. All but one driver back onto the racetrack. Lucas Cole, based on live timing, the only driver remaining here on pit lane. Driver's still warming up the tires. McGinnis a 119 last time, about 4 seconds off the pace. Malukas kind of weaving his way up the straightaway, trying to build some heat into these tires. Two incredibly long straightaways at this racetrack. Very unique that we have the full run down the straightaway here into turn number 1. Of course, that run all the way out of turn number 5 and 6, the switchback to go all the way down Hulman Boulevard into the hard-braking left-hand turn number 7. Two incredible opportunities to overtake. All right, VK still on top, 115.3. Drivers starting to drop those times down a little bit now as they get a little warmer. Robert McGinnis, who won yesterday, would love to get back for his second straight pole start. Good job in qualifying yesterday. The young driver to New York. Gets that first win, gets the monkey off his back, and now could focus on getting more wins here in 2019 and potentially the championship that will put him in 3 races, at least 3 races next year in the NTT IndyCar Series.
McGinnis led 28 of the 30 laps in yesterday's race. And one thing that fans will notice is that all 3 of the races in the support series are just a touch longer today than they were a day ago.
Indeed. One of the interesting things yesterday, I think what really made it a big win for Robert McGinnis was he didn't go flag to flag. Oliver Askew made a fantastic move down the inside at turn number 1, was able to steal the lead away. And instead of Askew being able to pull away like he did at the Circuit of the Americas in early March, Robert came right back, did exactly the same thing to him, went to the inside with a late-breaking move into turn number 1 to steal that back. So he was challenged and responded, and I think that is huge for Robert McGinnis to know that he had the speed, he had the car, but he also had the racecraft to be able to come back, Greg.
All 9 cars currently lapping around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Ryan Norman just came down the front straightaway, followed by Dalton Kellett.
McGinnis and Askew now down to a 116 flat, so they're getting ready to get on it here. They've got the heat built into these Cooper tires. They put fresh stickered Coopers on for this final run. 7 minutes remaining here in qualifying. Indy Lights, the top rung of the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires on track. And as Greg has said, as soon as we're done here with qualifying, we go right into the second race of the doubleheader for USF2000.
Which means that quickly somehow you'll transport yourself from the pagoda down to the front straightaway.
Exactly.
You got your steps in yesterday. There was little doubt about that.
Yeah, I think I was 15 or 16,000. It was good. Good day. All right, these drivers starting to style things in. Renus VK, last lap time, a 119.9, still off it, but building the heat up in those tires nice and slowly. A 16 flat, as I said, for McGinnis and Askew, so look for them to drop some good times down. Just 2/10 separating your top 3 drivers. VK in the 21, McGinnis in the 27, and Askew in the 28, and McGinnis goes to P1. 115.369, the first driver to drop the gauntlet. Robert McGinnis, yesterday's winner for Andretti Autosports, puts the number 27, P1. Not by much, though. 100th of a second.
And Askew's last lap was less than 1/10 of a second slower than McGinnis. Right now, 5 of the 9 drivers on the course have had a lap sub 116.
Robert McGinnis, as I said, working off that momentum from the win yesterday, the confidence that it brought him. McGinnis in the number 27 machine, 1:15.369. Current provisional pole, 5.5 minutes to go. Rinus VeeKay has not yet spooled things up, 1:17.2. Again, taking his time, bringing those tires up to temperature here in what is a very cool morning at IMS.
Let's note that Toby Sowery has jumped into the top 5. He is now up to 4th, 1:15.6011. Again, he finished 7th yesterday. Really had kind of been bottom 3 or 4 speed-wise. He's jumped into the top 5.
Dalton Kellett up into the 6th position. He, too, now into the sub-1:16. McGinnis goes even quicker this next time by, 1:15.245. McGinnis continues to drop the time for provisional pole. Just over a 10th quicker than VeeKay. Let's see what Askew does. 15.96. He went the other direction. Oliver Askew, I think, potentially having to get by the 21 of VeeKay. Rinus still bringing those tires up to temp.
Less than 5 minutes now left to go in this qualifying session. Again, less than a second separates this field from front to back.
Robert McGinnis looking to try to sweep this weekend. Pole yesterday, got the race win. Looking to get the pole here as well. Again, last year, the driver who was able to dominate the month of May here in the Indy Lights program was Colton Herta. Swept the Grand Prix weekend and went on to win the Freedom 100. Could Robert McGinnis be lining up to do the same here in 2019?
Of course, Colton already a race winner in the NTT IndyCar Series this season.
He's been unbelievable.
It was 5 days before he turned 19 years of age, by the way.
Exactly.
McGinnis faster again. Shaved a couple of hundredths off of that lap.
Robert McGinnis is absolutely on point here this weekend. This kid is in the zone in the number 27. 1:15.231. VeeKay finally lays his best lap down. He goes a 15.305, just 0.07 of a second separating first and second. Askew back down to a good lap. He turned his best lap last time as well, 1:15.409. Toby Sowery, 1:15.492. Askew was a 1:15.4, not a 1:14. Less than 3/10 separating your top 4 drivers. 3 minutes remaining in this session, Greg. Time winding down.
Of note, Ryan Norman, 8th quick of the 9 cars so far. And he was our 4th place finisher yesterday. Number 48 machine.
Yeah, I was going to say,
wait. I say that, up to number 2.
There he goes. He's just starting to get things going. All these drivers, again, taking their time getting these new tires fired up. Ryan Norman jumping to second in the number 48 machine as Robert McGinnis goes even quicker. 1:15.149. VeeKay now to second, 1:15.2. Norman, 1:15.2. 0.09 of a second separating first, second, and third. McGinnis, VeeKay, and Norman. Oliver Askew slowed back up to a 1:20.3. I'm thinking that he probably tried to gap himself a little bit. He's rolling down the straightaway now. He's got VeeKay in front of him. Norman to P3 now. 0.09 of a second separating your top 3. Less than 2 minutes remaining. Indy Lights drivers trying to put that one final magic lap down. Right now, the provisional front row, we'll see Robert McGinnis alongside Rinus VeeKay.
Zachary Clayman just turned his fastest lap of the morning session, 1:15.3117, as he hops into 4th position.
Ryan Norman to the top of the charts. P1 for Ryan, new fast lap, 1:15.140. McGinnis steals it right back to 1:15.05.
Got to be the best guy in your own team, right? Got to beat your teammate.
VeeKay now, first driver into the 1:14s. Here come those magic laps, folks. 1:14.993. VeeKay now to the top of the timing chart. Final minute for qualifying for Indy Lights, presented by Cooper Tires.
Well, VeeKay was a race winner in St. Petersburg. He has not had a pole position yet this year. Looking for a first for he and his team.
Rinus VeeKay, the driver out of Holland. running for Juncos Racing, won the Indy Pro 2000 championship last year with Juncos. Yeah, and he would love to get that first career Indy Lights pole position. The bonus point that comes along with it. He's 0.05 of a second quicker than Robert McGinnis, but we are far from done, I believe, here, Greg.
Well, again, we're about to see the time expire on the session. However, drivers are allowed to complete their lap. So just because the timing will end here in 15 seconds, it's another minute or two of on-track activity.
VK, McGinnis, Norman, Clayman, and Malukas. Your fast five right now. Clayman, 115.3. We'll see the checkered flag at start-finish now. That'll cap things off. The first driver across the line here is going to cap off this session. It's going to be Ryan Norman in the number 48. Now, he will get still to complete this last lap back around to the timing stripe. That timing stripe just on the exit of turn number 11 before they get to turn 12. David Malukas, he goes quicker, 115.221. Malukas now to fourth. Toby Sowery jumps up a spot. He'll go to P7 at 115.4. Less than a half a second separating the top 8 drivers. I think VK is done. He's headed to the pit lane, 114.993. Provisional pole for Rinus VK. Checkered flag, as we said, being displayed here at start-finish. Drivers able to come around. Looking for Norman here in the number 48, 115.1. He'll have to find a couple of tenths of a second. He's coming out of turn number 11 now. Ryan Norman, P3, was P1 for a time, but now third. He does not go any quicker, I believe. The 67 of Dalton Kellett done as well. Only driver still out on the racetrack, Robert McGinnis in the number 27. Can McGinnis steal it away here on the final circuit? He does not. So another first here this weekend. Of course, Robert McGinnis getting his first victory yesterday. Rinus VK, his first Indy Lights pole position, a 114.993. The only driver to dip below the 115 mark. Quicker by 0.05 of a second from yesterday's winner, Robert McGinnis. So it's the Juncos Racing driver, Rinus VK, out of the Netherlands. And the number 21, fast driver on the racetrack for Indy Lights. He'll start on the inside of row 1 alongside yesterday's winner, Robert McGinnis. Row 2 will be Ryan Norman and David Malukas. Row 3, Oliver Askew and Zachary Clayman. Row 4, Toby Sowery and Dalton Kellett. And on row number 5, Lucas Cole. Looks like we have 3 of our teams in the top 4. VK with Juncos, McGinnis and Norman with Andretti, and David Malukas with BN Racing. Got to go down to P6 for the top driver in the Belardi Auto Racing camp. That's Zachary Clayman. All in all, though, a pretty good qualifying session, Greg. Just over 0.4 of a second separating the top 8.
All right, you go set a speed record. You get down to pit lane because we're not too far away from the USF2000 driver introductions. And those drivers will go racing in less than 15 minutes.
The Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, made its return to the Circuit of the Americas this weekend for the first time in 6 years. Andretti Autosport's Oliver Askew was dominant in qualifying to set the tone for the weekend, topping the time charts for both races in his number 28 Index Invest Dallara IL-15. The Andretti team went 1-2-3 in qualifying for race 1, as both Ryan Norman and Robert McGinnis were quick, but the fortunes of Belardi Auto Racing provided a stark contrast as Julian Falchero lost an engine in practice before Zachary Clayman had issues in qualifying that prevented him from turning any laps. The first start of the weekend proved chaotic. After Norman spun on the formation lap and was put to the tail of the field, Askew used his open front row to cruise cleanly through turn 1, running off into the distance in a race that would go green to checker. It was a little messier behind the leader as Clayman tried an aggressive move up the inside that resulted in contact with his teammate Lucas Cole. Clayman would receive a drive-through penalty, effectively ending his hopes at working his way to the podium. Askew simply dominated the day, winning by over 20 seconds. But the race for the remaining spots in the top 5 featured some of the most exciting Indy Lights road course competition in recent memory. Robert McGinnis and Toby Sowery waged war for position for many laps, but Sowery eventually faded in his BN racing machine due to suspension woes. St. Pete Round 2 winner Rinus VK picked up the baton, and he took the fight to McGinnis. The racing was tremendous, and after back and forth swaps in position, VK emerged with a second position on the final tally. McGinnis completed an impressive day with his first trip to an Indy Lights podium. Sunday dawned overcast and cooler, but once again, the Indy Lights drivers provided the heat. At the start, climbing the hill into turn 1, Robert McGinnis made a bold move around the outside to steal the lead away from Oliver Askew, and the 2 Andretti drivers would then pull away to begin the fight. Askew eventually used the push to pass to slip to the inside of his teammate, taking the lead. The action throughout the race was thrilling, with hardcore wheel-to-wheel racing characterizing Indy Lights at Cota. A full course yellow for the stricken number 13 Belardi Auto Racing car of Zachary Clayman brought out the full course yellow with just 5 laps to go, setting up a challenge for the second position. Askew made a tremendous restart to quickly build a gap, but it was the charge of David Malukas that provided the excitement as the 17-year-old went to work on McGinnis. Malukas threw everything he had at McGinnis, but came up just short on the final lap, taking an impressive third, his first Indy Lights podium. McGinnis completed what was likely his best career Road to Indy weekend, taking a pair of podium finishes to advance his position in the standings. In the end, the Circuit of the Americas belonged to Oliver Askew. The 22-year-old swept the weekend, winning both poles and both races, taking over the point lead in the process. With Texas in the rear-view mirror, all 3 series will now look towards the month of May in Indianapolis, with events on the track's road course.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International Raceway. The perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
It's a pretty brave move to put these tires on straight-up race cars.
The race truck is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
Victorious at Mid-Ohio. It's hard coming through that corner.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International Raceway. The perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
Rinus VK in Indy Lights. A field of 21 drivers are about set to go here for the second end of the doubleheader in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. This is the Grand Prix of Indianapolis. These drivers are the very first rung of the road to Indy, all focused on trying to work their way up the ranks and to win that scholarship that goes to the champion to run next year in Indy Pro 2000. Let's have a look at the grid as 21 drivers set to go. Starting from the tail of the field, it'll be the number 7 of Christian Bogle for Jay Howard Driver Development. He will start in the 21st position. In row number 10, starting on the outside, Matt Round Garrido, another one of the Jay Howard drivers. And on the inside for Pabst Racing, the Brazilian Bruna Tomaselli in the number 24. Moving now up to Row number 9, starting on the outside for Pabst Racing out of Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, the rookie in the number 21, Yuvan Sundaramurthy. And on the inside, the young Californian, just 14 years of age, for Newman Walks Racing, number 36, Nolan Siegel. Moving now up to row number 8, another one of the 14-year-old drivers in the field out of Puerto Rico. In the number 3 for Cape Motorsports, it is Reese Gold. He'll start 16th alongside Christian Rasmussen in the J. Howard Driver Development number 6. We'll go to row number 7 now on the outside. Dakota Dickerson from San Diego, California, running for Legacy Autosport in the number 77. And on the inside for BN Racing in the number 28, Anthony Famularo. Moving now to row number 6 on the outside, another one of the Legacy Autosport drivers. A former winner here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. From France, it's Alex Barron in the number 14. And on the inside, the Indianapolis native, Jack Miller in the Miller Venturini number 40, starting in the 11th position. Good crowd here to cheer on Jack Miller. Moving now to row number 5 on the outside. Eduardo Barrichello in the number 41. He'll start in the 10th spot. And on the inside, Manuel Cabrera in the number 90 for Exclusive Autosport. Moving now to row number 4. Cameron Shields from Australia for Newman Walks Racing, the winner. The number 73 machine starting 8th. And on the inside, Colin Kaminsky out of Illinois in the number 23. Row number 3 from nearby Greenfield, Indiana. It's Zach Holden in the number 27 for BN Racing. And on the inside from Houston, Texas, his first weekend here in USF2000, Jack Crawford in the number 52. Row number 2 now on the outside for D-Force Racing, the number 12, the Mexican Manuel Suleiman. And on the inside, Hunter McElray in the number 22. On the front row, the 2 drivers for Cape Motorsports. On the outside from Boca Raton, Florida, it's Darren Keene in the number 2. And out of Ohio, 3 times a winner this year, Braden Eves on the pole in the number 8. So again, Eves and Keene on row 1, McElray and Suleiman row 2, Crawford and Holden on row number 3. So folks, we're getting set to roll here, and they're going to give me the call here to command to fire up these engines. It's time to get things going here for USF 2000. On behalf of Cooper Tires, drivers, start your engines!
Rob, thank you very much. Again, Braden Eves, your winner yesterday. He won from pole. Darren Keene had the most adventurous drive yesterday. We had 5 cars, not all collide, but 5 cars that could not make it cleanly into turn number 1. Couple of cars would spin. Darren Keene would get caught up in that. He had to work his way all the way from the back of the field to the front. He did have the fastest lap, but all of the other notables, if you will, from yesterday, pole position, most laps led, and race winner went to Braden Eves. He has won all 3 events so far in the USF 2000 series. The only 2 other races before these drivers got to Indianapolis this week came back in the opening weekend of the NTT IndyCar season at St. Petersburg. These drivers are done for the weekend as of this race, which will go for either 20 laps or for 40 minutes. They will race over at Lucas Oil Raceway. Coming up, the weekend of the Indy 500. Then they'll be running at Road America, Toronto, Mid-Ohio, Portland, and Laguna Seca throughout the course of this season. 21 car and drivers out on the track for this race. We'll give them a lap or so to get up to speed before we drop the green flag on this field. And as Rob mentioned, there are 2 drivers with ties to the area. Jack William Miller, Carmel Westfield area. And of course, Zach Holden from Greenfield. And he's got an outstanding starting position for this race. He will be on the outside of row number 3. Mr. Howd, you caught your breath yet?
I'm back. Yeah, I had to run back from the grid. 2 pace laps before we go green, give them the opportunity for these drivers to get a little more heat into the tires. I think that's a good call from the officials. Normally we go green first time by. Good-looking field of drivers set to go. Anywhere from 14 to 22 years of age. A couple of 14-year-olds in the field, Nolan Siegel and Reese Gold. Braden Eves and Darren Keene up front. All Cape Motorsports front row. Big win for Braden Eves yesterday, his third straight. He has won all 3 races so far this year. Darren Keene just does not seem to get the luck. Lots of speed out of the driver from Boca Raton, Florida, but collected in an incident yesterday. Jack Crawford getting a little too aggressive going into the corner. A couple of drivers involved in that incident in turn number 1. Keene, though, was able to put on a show. Kept it going, able to get rolling back through, and drove his way back up through the field. Impressive run for him to kind of stop the bleeding, but could have been a very tough hit in the championship battle.
Well, good morning to Rob Howard and Michael Young filling in for Greg Rakestraw. Greg had very important duties here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, working our second parade lap, going green this time by. Rob, a very busy man, and as you had just kind of recapped yesterday's event, need to remind fans, for these young drivers, not only just a thrill to be here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but for them to be able to do what they do and try to keep from having those mistakes. Been very impressive thus far this year to see some of these young drivers for the very first time, of course, in St. Petersburg, and yesterday with a few of the incidents, but pretty clean racing all in all.
Indeed, and for the young drivers that come into this program, that's one of the things we normally see. We will see drivers get a little too overzealous, maybe push a little too hard, not showing the patience that you'll see out of drivers in the Indy Pro category or Indy Lights, more seasoned drivers here on this road to Indy. But you're right, St. Petersburg wasn't too bad. We had a couple of incidents, but our starts were pretty solid. Same here. We had a couple of incidents here, but otherwise, through the race, we saw some great driving and some aggressive driving later. We had a couple of incidents, but all in all, the drivers who are able to keep their heads are the ones that get the really good results.
Braden Eves leading the field behind the pace car, working his way now through turns number 8 and 9 as they make their way around the museum. They will start the formation as they get ready for round number 4, race number 2 here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. A beautiful sight, seeing those cars make their way through turn number 10. That right-hander around the museum, and again, the rows of 2 starting to form as they make their way down that front straightaway. We'll turn them loose this time by. Hopefully have a clean start as they make their way down into turn number 1. We welcome each and every one of you to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's race day, the IndyCar Grand Prix, and race number 2 for this Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. And there you see the front row, the Cape Motorsports drivers, as they make their way through the final turn and set to make their way down the front straightaway, the Yard of Bricks, race number 2, round number 4, about to begin. And here for the call, the voice of this Road to Indy program, Rob Howden. Welcome him to the front straightaway here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Braden Eves on the inside, Darren Keene on the outside. 2 drivers looking to try to get a race win here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Eves will set the pace as they come up. Really good looking field right now. And we've got it. Green, 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 underway. Racing down here into turn number 1. One driver already coming off the 27 of Zach Holden into pit lane. Trouble for Holden. He goes to pit lane. Otherwise, they'll span out 3, 4, 5 wide coming down to turn number 1. This is where we all hold our collective breaths to see if they can get through. A little bit of brake smoke. Good thus far through turn number 1. One driver further back, and an issue, as we said, with Zach Holden. I'm not sure why he came down into pit lane. Drivers through now turn 1, 2, coming through that switchback. Turns 5 and 6. On the power as they work their way down Holman Boulevard for the very first time. The Cape Motorsports drivers run first and second. Hunter McElroy slotting into that third spot. He's got the Mazda Soul Red, won the $200,000 scholarship shootout last November to get into this USF2000 program. But the Cape Motorsports drivers, unlike yesterday, both able to get cleanly through turn number 1 and 2. And that's the way they run. I believe Eves is your leader. Keene goes into second.
Darren Keene swung to the outside as he went down into turn number 1. I thought he was going to maybe dive underneath Braden Eves, unable to do so, but that was a great start, as you had said, for Braden Eves. Already about a 3-car length gap between he and his teammate as they make their way through turn number 13. And now that left-hander, turn number 14, coming down the front straightaway for the first time. Braden Eves leads the field back to the Yard of Bricks.
We'll watch the gap right now. Darren Keene in the number 2. Has got the 22 of Hunter McElroy right there with him.
Great racing further back. Those are the drivers in the Legacy Autosports cars. Alex Barron runs in 7th, Dakota Dickerson in 9th. He's got Colin Kaminsky right there in 8th and Jack Miller in 10th. Really close racing coming down into turn number 1 here, side by side as they work their way into the opening corner of this 14-turn racetrack here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Drivers absolutely love this racetrack. Glass smooth and a lot of opportunity to overtake, but it's all about rolling corner speed. You have to be able to roll speed through some of these these quicker corners, and that's what's going to separate the drivers who are at the front to the back, as the drivers are really able to lay that power down and through some of the quicker parts of this racetrack.
Something we like to see, too, this single file at the early stage of this race. A couple of jockeying for position further back in the field as we have some great battles for that 5th, 6th, and 7th position. You talked about Crawford Shields and Alex Barron battling in the back there as we see the shot around the museum. Braden Eves with about an 8-car length advantage over Darren Keed. Hunter McElroy, Suleiman, and Crawford, your top 5 as we get set to complete lap number 2. There's Braden Eves, his teammate right behind him, Darren Keene. As they come down out through turn number 14 now, we'll mark them as they come across the line, completing lap number 2. Braden Eves, then Darren Keene. Nice battle there as the 22 of Hunter McElroy starting to close in on Darren Keene, about 2 car lengths back for that battle for second position.
Tell you who's having a fantastic run now. That's Dakota Dickerson in the number 77. The Legacy Autosport guys obviously went to work last night pouring over the data. They came up with a plan here for today, and Alex Barron, who started 12th, he's already up to 6th spot. Dakota Dickerson started 14th. He's now worked his way up to 7th. Those 2 Legacy Autosport cars are impressive here early on in what will be a 20-lap race here for the drivers in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. Coming through the switchback onto Holman Boulevard. You can see the packs that we have racing here today. Tremendous competition in this category all the way through the field. We're seeing great racing.
Keeping an eye on that battle for second there is Darren Keene able to gap himself a little bit from Hunter McElroy, but Hunter had a great run down Holman Boulevard, able to close that gap. There you see it. That's that battle for second, about a 3-car length disadvantage for Hunter McElroy as he's trying to get that second position away from Darren Keene. And the key, Rob, is we always talk about getting that momentum out of these final turns, that big sweeping turn number 14. If you can get a good run, that's the key to get the run and potential pass down into turn number 1.
The 2 key parts of this racetrack to be able to make overtakes, 13 and 14, as you said, coming onto the straightaway, and then being able to get through that switchback, turn 5 and 6. That leads you onto the straightaway on Holman Boulevard. Last lap before, an issue, not so much an issue, but Manuel Suleiman dropped down from, I believe, 3rd, or he was 4th, I think, on the track, dropped all the way down to 8th. Jack Crawford able to get by to 4th. Cameron Shields in 5th. Barron and Dickerson 6th and 7th for Legacy. Suleiman back to 8th. Jack Miller still running in 9th, and Colin Kaminsky in 10th. What a great run for young Jack Miller right now as well. He is really impressing me here this weekend in that Miller Vinatieri Motorsports number 40. Top 10 run for Jack. Really solid here at Indianapolis.
Well, you mentioned Manuel Suleiman as he's falling through the field. He was 4th and now falling further back in the field, almost as if he either hit a curb or knocked something off of that car, but certainly something not right with that number 12 machine as he's now dropped down to about the 16th position.
We'll watch for him come back around here. We will update on Zach Holden. He came into pit lane, obviously some kind of a mechanical issue, not able to get back out onto the racetrack. So Zach, who got in trouble in the start of the opening race and fought his way back up into the top 10, doesn't even get 1 lap in here today. Tough one for Zach Holden. Again, we'll watch these drivers as they work around here.
Have a spin in turn number 7, 2 cars.
That's Jack Miller.
Yes, it is.
That's Jack Miller potentially has gone around. That's the number we're seeing, at least on our screens here. Jack Miller potentially spinning in 7, and then Matt Round-Garrido potentially involved as well. Watching these drivers come through. We'll try to pick up Manuel Suleiman.
Boy, Hunter McElroy's got a heck of a run on Darren Keene down into turn number 1. Not going to be able to make a pass, but Rob, I think that second position may be up for grabs here in the next lap or so. Hunter McElroy is on the charge, completing 4 laps of this 20-lap event here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
And Michael, you were correct. Suleiman all the way down to the tail of the field now in the 18th spot, being told Jack Miller's been able to continue. Matt Round-Garrido in the number 5 did not. That was the incident over in turn number 7, so Matt Round-Garrido still there. We'll try to pick that up when they work their way through turn number 7 here on the video. But again, big lead here for Braden Eves as he tries to win his 4th straight
main event here in the Cooper Tires USF2000 Championship. As they run now, he would leave Indianapolis with a massive lead, 33 points. That's more than a single race. Matt Rangarito just picking that car up just on the outside, we believe. Outside of turn number 7. Eves, 1.9 seconds, and full course yellow. So I was just wondering whether or not they were going to leave Matt Rangarito's Tatis out there, but indeed, full course yellow being brought out. He's just on the outside of turn number 7. Officials deeming that car in a dangerous position. So indeed, they will go full course yellow, stack it up. So that 1.9 second lead that Braden Eves just had is long gone. And this is going to give Alex Barron and Dakota Dickerson another chance to go after both Cameron Shields and Jack Crawford.
Well, we were waiting to see if the caution would indeed come out. We did not have a visual on Matt Rangarito's machine. I don't know if he was trying to get rolling and they were going to wait. Obviously, as you said, Rob, he was in a precarious position. So officials watching that car, but he's unable to get rolling. So that is the reason for our first caution, full course caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The running order, top 5, Braden Eves, Darren Keene, Hunter McElray, Crawford, and Shields rounding out your top 5. Barron, Dickerson, Kaminsky, Barrichello, and Rasmussen round out your top 10.
Michael, they were able to get Matt Rangarito pushed out there. I think he was probably just stuck because it's been pretty wet, as you know, and he is now rolling again, the number 5 of Matt Rangarito from England, back onto the racetrack in the 5.
I think hence why it took so long for the caution to come out. He was probably spinning out there. Obviously, as we had said, we don't have a visual on that car, so it took a moment. They were hoping he could get rolling, but this will make things interesting again, not only for Braden Eves, who had that great lead, but now Darren Keene has seen his mirrors full of Hunter McElray, and we will be going green this time by. So we'll see if Braden Eves can get a good start. Teammate Darren Keene started on the outside of row number 1, but the driver that was stalking the second position, Darren Keene, Hunter McElray, will he have a good restart? The field now works their way through the museum portion of the course, turn number 11, then through turn number 12. And we always keep our eyes on these restarts because these young drivers thinking, well, I can get not 1, not 2, maybe 3 positions, Rob, and this is where we keep our fingers crossed that everybody minds their provisional or proverbial P's and Q's, if you will.
Well, a tough opportunity here now for Eves because if there's an opportunity to pass, it's on a restart. If you're behind, you're a sitting duck coming all the way down the straightaway here with the tow these drivers will get. We did get a chance to quickly see the replay of the incidents over in turn number 7, and they were both separate incidents, both drivers going off by themselves. Field set, though. We're back at it. Green flag fly. It's the restart. Here comes Darren Keene. Keene looking to make a move on Braden Eves for the lead. He got a good restart tucked up underneath the rear wing. They'll work their way down here into turn number 1. Drivers through cleanly at this point. I don't know if we were able to get a pass there. Didn't get to the camera quick enough. The Cape Motorsports drivers still first and second as everybody able to navigate their way through the opening couple of corners. It looks to me like Braden Eves still the leader in the number 8 machine. So Keene not able to attack and get by to take over the point. So Keene slots back into second. McElray goes to P3. Crawford still in 4th. I think Alex Barron potentially able to get by Cameron Shields for 5th. So Barron now goes to P5. Former winner here on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway road course. And he pushing hard to get himself back up onto the podium after a difficult day yesterday. Side-by-side racing further back. That's Christian Rasmussen and Eduardo Barrichello, the number 41. One of those Miller Vinatieri Motorsport entries. They're still going side-by-side coming through turn number 12, or 11 rather. Michael, good hardcore racing for 9th.
Indeed there is. Braden Eves now able to gap himself as we see a potential spin for the 52 of Jack Crawford, who was running 4th at the time. He was by himself behind Hunter McElray, but potential the 52 now off in turn number 7. But Braden Eves, Darren Keene, that battle still between Keene and Hunter McElray. That is the battle for second position down into turn number 1. Great restart for Braden Eves, Rob.
No doubt about that, able to hold off his teammate Darren Keene. And as I said, you're a sitting duck essentially on a restart because they're right in behind you. They get that tow. Just no one able to make the pass, and Keene holding on to the position. Jack Miller was able to continue, did not lose a lap. He's gone by Manuel Suleiman, so put Jack Miller back up to 15th, so we'll see what he's able to do. But otherwise, you've got to give props to the guys from Legacy Autosport, Mike Meyer and his crew. Whatever they did last night in terms of getting those cars dialed in has been successful. They have been like a rocket coming out of the gate here. Manuel Cabrera in the exclusive Autosport number 90 coming down pit lane, so trouble for Cabrera. He'll head to pit lane here. But again, Barron now running in the 4th spot, and I believe Dickerson now in 7th. We're going to have a look again to see.
Well, we talked about Jack Crawford. I think it was a transponder issue. They had him in turn number 7, but as we see it right now, he's currently running in that 4th position. So a potential transponder issue for the number 52, but Jack Crawford still in that 4th position. Braden Eves, he has the lead. That battle again for 2nd as we see Darren Keene and Hunter McElroy, Jack Crawford in 4th, and Alex Barron in 5th.
Indeed, Crawford. We pick up the visual as he comes around. We got a great battle here right now, though, for that 5th position. Shields trying to get back around Crawford as they come, or rather around
Barron.
The Legacy Autosport driver. Yeah, Alex Barron. Shields on the outside. He's got him on the outside. He gets through. Book it. Great pass there. Cameron Shields back by. Dakota Dickerson, the teammate of Barron, right there trying to capitalize as well. So they, again, now run in 6th and 7th. Some really aggressive racing just outside the top 5.
You talked about it. He set Barron up all the way down that long front straightaway. Shields able to get around in turn number 1, what we call a textbook pass. A great job by Shields getting around Barron for the 5th position.
They're not done yet either, Michael. They were racing hard out of the switchback, too. I think that they went 2x2 again back into turn number 7. Look at this fight. Barron's back through. And, in fact, I think Dickerson gets by as well. So both Barron and Dickerson move Shields down to 7th. But he's in the middle of a really good battle with those 2 Legacy Autosport drivers. But now Barron finally by, off and running to see if he can't reel in Jack Crawford.
A lot of great racing action. Working lap number 9 of this 20-lap event. 8 complete. And Braden Eves has had it his way thus far. A 1.2 second advantage last time by. This time by, that gap is a little bit wider, 1.4 seconds. Hunter McElroy starts to look to the inside of Darren Keene as they make their way down into turn number 1. The battle for 2nd continues. Darren Keene thinks better of it, keeps himself in front of Hunter McElroy. But Hunter McElroy, Rob, I think at some point is really going to set Darren Keene up and get around for that 2nd position, or at least try.
He's showing great patience right now. I've been told we had a blocking warning for Nolan Siegel. He is in the middle of a good battle here with Christian Bogle. Again, coming around to the halfway point. But I like the patience that Hunter McElroy is showing right now. I think he figures he doesn't quite have the pace for Braden Eves, but there's a potential to fight his way back into that 2nd spot. So he's just sitting right there off the rear wing.
And great racecraft. Just sits slowly, works his way inside, outside, just letting Darren Keene know that he's there. And I think if he gets that good run out of turn number 14, we'll have an opportunity to pass for 2nd. That should be a good battle in the next couple of laps or so.
Going to watch the lap times as well between Jack Crawford in 4th in the 52 and Alex Barron in the number 14 and 5th. What we're seeing now is I think that gap's just going to keep building. Barron doesn't have the speed at this point here, a 126.9. Crawford a 125.7, a full second quicker. So it looks to me like the front 4 are going to stretch away.
Yeah, and Alex Barron lost all that time when he, Shields, and Dickerson were battling. So whatever potential he had to gain some ground lost there. And again, we see Hunter McElroy. He'll look to the outside, now look to the inside. Darren Keene blocking, taking that inside line. No potential for a pass, but indeed there is.
He goes deep to the inside, but you know that's going to be an over-under. He went too deep into the corner, able to keep – oh, actually, he may have got that spot.
Did.
He actually made it stick. Wow. He got so deep that car was great. Oh, we got a wreck. Wreck in turn 1. Drivers further back involved in an incident in turn number 1. Driver into the wall on the outside of that corner. Will definitely go full course yellow for that. So that's going to slow things down again as we have one driver off. That's the number 40 at Jack Miller. Miller was racing his way back up, and he was in the 14th position, but contact into the braking zone has sent Jack Miller into the wall. I don't think it was hard contact, but I think we'll see the full course yellow here pretty soon as he's just on the outside of the racetrack coming into the braking zone. They have not yet thrown it here at start-finish. Maybe potentially waiting to see if he'll be able to refire and pull that car off the racetrack.
In the meantime, an amazing pass by Hunter McElroy down into turn number 1 as we have a full course caution for the second time in this second race for the USF2000 series here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And the reason, Jack Miller again. Jack William Miller with his second spin, the first time in turn number 7, that time in turn number 1. And hopefully we'll get an opportunity to see that replay. But, Rob, you picked it up after that battle with Hunter McElroy and Darren Keene down into turn number 1. But, boy, McElroy, that was a fantastic pass.
From the view that we saw, I would have said there was no way he was going to be able to complete that pass because the car started to twitching as he got on deep onto the brakes. There's a replay of the incident there. Jack William Miller, I believe, potential contact with Colin Kaminsky. Here's another shot. Is this another shot at it here? No, this is the yellow. This is live. So, again, an issue there. All right, let's have another look at this thing here to see exactly what happened to Jack Miller in that number 40 machine.
The way it looked, he may have had some help. It just looked like a funny way for that car to turn. Here he is on the inside of the outside, actually, of that. Yeah, there was contact there.
I think Jack overcooked it coming into the braking zone. Whoever the driver in front of him was, he ran into the back of that driver. I think it was Colin Kaminsky. So Jack just getting too deep into turn number 1, trying to roll some speed into there and
trying to salvage the spin from earlier and really knows he has a good car and just got a little too aggressive there in turn number 1. And that's a situation when you're so close in turn number 1, racing in a position that you haven't been in all day. Someone brakes a little bit differently than a driver you've been used to driving with, and they brake a little bit earlier than you're used to braking, and that's what happens.
Indeed, because as we said, he was running up there in the top 10 when he had that first spin over in turn number 7. So just hoping that these drivers would be braking a little deeper than they were. And again, just light contact into the wall. Wasn't a heavy hit at all. Kind of just got into the back of him, went into a little spin and tapped the wall on the outside of 1. Crew going to work, getting that car up on the flatbed, and we'll go back to work. Braden Eves, your leader. Hunter McElroy running in 2nd. Darren Keene in 3rd. Jack Crawford 4th. Dakota Dickerson now 5th. He was able to get by Alex Barron right before the incident. So Dickerson in 5th spot. Barron in 6th. Cameron Shields now 7th, Eduardo Bellarkello 8th, Christian Rasmussen 9th, and Anthony Famularo rounding out the top 10.
So prognosticate for me, if you will. You said Hunter McElroy doesn't have the pace to catch Braden Eves, but now throw everything out the window. Hunter McElroy is now right behind the rear wing of Braden Eves on the restart.
I have no doubt he's going to try a move. There's no doubt. Hunter's one of those drivers who is aggressive, and this is his opportunity here. Where are we on time? Still 20 minutes remaining. We only have 9 laps to go. He'll make a move here, I think. Now, again, we saw a great restart already for Braden Eves. He's not a slouch on the restarts at all. He was able to hold off his teammate Darren Keene. But I think having got by Keene, Hunter McElroy in his mind right now says, this is my opportunity to get my win. And he has to do this right now. As they stand on the racetrack, he's 30 points behind Braden Eves, as Eves has won the first 3 races. So a win here would most definitely get him back in the championship battle.
So let's look further back in the field. The 5th-place driver, Dakota Dickerson, who has made his way up through the field, got around Shields, got around Barron. Now Dakota Dickerson with a great opportunity to make his way potentially to the podium as he'll restart in that 5th position. Well, we will go back to the green flag racing here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway this time by as the field makes their way through turns number 3 and 4 now. Looking forward to our third restart after the start of the race, our second caution working here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and an unfortunate incident again for Jack Miller, Rob, as you said, a very great young talent. We heard from Adam Vinatieri, Miller Vinatieri Motorsport, and the two sons had raced together, Jack Miller's son and Adam Vinatieri's son, and Adam said his son maybe didn't like the speed as much as Jack's son enjoyed it, but in any case, great to have Adam Vinatieri here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and part of racing traditions here in the USF2000 series as Jack Miller finds himself out of this race, but certainly has some potential. He's been very impressive thus far.
That's what I was going to say. What a great weekend it's been for him. They've shown speed. That whole team has shown speed. Eduardo Bellarkello still in the 8th spot, a team brand new here to USF2000. They come in with a blank sheet of paper in terms of setup, and they've done a great job to be able to get themselves up, challenging for positions inside the top 10. Field now set, though, folks. We're getting ready to go. It'll be a single-file restart. Braden Eves will bring them around, and we are expecting a battle coming down into turn number 1 as Hunter McElroy in the 22 will look to make that move to try to get a hold of the lead here. It's been all Braden Eves in 2019.
I'm just watching Hunter McElroy. He is all over the rear wing of Braden Eves. So we'll see if Braden gives him a little checkup here as we get set to go green. The field now working through turn number 14 as they swing around that long, sweeping final turn before they go back to the front straightaway. We're green here at Indianapolis in a battle for second.
What a great start for Braden Eves. He's able to pull away, and Darren Keene going to work. He'll go to the inside. Keene to the inside of Hunter McElroy coming down into turn number 1, and he gets the job done, but can McElroy run the outside? They'll go 2x2 through turns 1, turn number 2. They'll work their way over to 3 now. Braden Eves with a strong start. He's able to go to P1 still. A great restart again for Braden Eves, and Hunter McElroy not in position to move. And in fact, Keene able to get by. He retakes the second spot and look for Jack Crawford to try to challenge here down into turn number 7. Crawford P4 trying to get onto the podium. Another move by Alex Barron. He's able to get by Dakota Dickerson, so Barron goes back to P5. Dickerson into 6th. Great run here for Dickerson, starting 14th, now up into the 6th spot. But he did just lose 1 position. Everybody in the train, Michael, through the 7, 8, 9 combination.
I would have called that completely different. I thought Hunter McElroy would have something for Braden Eves, and it was the exact opposite. Darren Keene able to get back around that second position and take it over as the field makes their way through turn number 12. It's Braden Eves, the number 2 of Darren Keene, Hunter McElroy. Jack Crawford runs in that 4th position, and Alex Barron running 5th. The field makes their way through turn number 14. We're completing lap number 14, working lap 15 this time by.
Pretty good battle there between Anthony Famularo. Actually, Eduardo Barrichello now trying to go to work on Cameron Shields. Shields has gotten down to 8th spot. Christian Rasmussen was able to get by Shields. Cameron trying to stop the bleeding here right now, as indeed it looks to me like Barrichello gets by. Suleiman potentially almost into the back of Shields in turn number 1. Yeah, contact. Drivers together. That might be Cameron Shields in the 73. We're going to watch. There's an incident. Shields able to continue. Whoever it is able to continue. Indeed, yeah, Cameron Shields. Yeah, he got looped around by the number 12 of Manuel Suleiman. They went into turn number 1, and Suleiman got into the back of Cameron Shields, spinning him around. Not sure how much damage there is to the car of Shields, but as they came into the corner, Christian Rasmussen was in the 7th spot. Here's the battle into the corner. You can see them side by side into 1. And that, again, is just Suleiman getting into the back of Cameron Shields. That didn't need to happen at all. Suleiman coming through that corner, climbed up over top of the curbing, I think, Michael. And once you do that, the car kind of got upset, and he just drove straight into the back.
Full course caution. Yes, indeed. Full course caution. Our 3rd of this race, number 2. Well, we were hoping to keep it clean, Rob, but the racing, as we do these restarts, we get a little bit tighter, and people trying to make moves in the latter portion of this race. And as you said, that was an avoidable incident.
Well, in that lap, Shields had got passed by Christian Rasmussen. Yep. Eduardo Barrichello had just got by. Suleiman was seeing that happen. I think Suleiman thought he might have got a chance to do it. He just dove to the inside and, again, got up over top of the curbing, and it just sent the car flying. Don't see any damage on the 73 of Shields as he came back by, so he's going to have about 4 laps potentially to get rolling again. They're going to have to put the car of Suleiman, though, on the wrecker. Not surprised he probably damaged the left front, or the left front potentially getting in the back of Cameron Shields.
Not a lot of control when you get up on that curbing and set those cars adrift. It will cause chaos, and it certainly did in this instance. Contact between Suleiman and the 71 machine.
How many times is Braden Eves going to be able to hold off the Lions here on a restart? Last time able to get a good jump and hold back Hunter McElroy, who indeed then got passed by Darren Keene. Keene able to capitalize on it. Now Darren will be looking to try to see if he can't get by his teammate coming down into turn number 1.
Well, 4 laps remaining. We'll complete that this time by 17. We'll have 3 when we come by. Braden Eves, Darren Keene. That's how we started the race. That's how we stand right now, 1st and 2nd. Hunter McElroy Running in the third position, Jack Crawford fourth. Alex Barron with a nice move on that last restart fifth. Dickerson, Rasmussen, Barrichello, Famularo, and Kaminsky round out your top 10.
This is going to be exciting, folks, as we see what happens here. Again, trying to get that car of Suleiman off the racetrack so we can go back to green flag racing. But these two Cape Motorsports drivers, Eves and Keene, 1-2. And as Michael said, just as they started, Hunter McElroy started third, runs third. When we go back to green, though, this will be incredibly interesting to see whether or not Braden Eves can again knock down a fantastic restart. Was able to do that and hold off McElroy, as we said. But
pace car stays out.
Yeah, one more lap. This is going to be a two-lap dice, I think, at the end, isn't it?
Yep. I think interesting is an understatement for the restart here as we get set to complete race number 2. Braden Eves has been in command at the point this entire morning in the second race of the weekend for this first rung of the Road to Indy program, the USF2000 Championship. Cooper Tires, of course, sponsors of this.
Michael, I'll tell you, Braden Eves has won the first 3 races. If he's able to knock down another win here, what a commanding lead he will take into the oval event at Lucas Oil Raceway, the Carb Night Classic. Man, if you can get 4 wins out of the box, you just have such of an advantage going into the midseason.
We talked about Kyle Kirkwood and what Kyle was able to accomplish last year. Are we seeing a potential repeat of that this year?
The thing that we talked about this yesterday, Greg Rakestraw and I did, the fact that even though Kyle Kirkwood set a record on wins in 13 wins, he only qualified on the pole 5 times. He wasn't that dominant. He was just the driver who didn't make a lot of mistakes. When the opportunity came, he won races. So right now, Braden Eves has kind of been a little different. He's qualified on the pole. He's got the job done. He's won races from the front. This is a more dominant start. Will it continue? I don't know. There's a lot of great drivers. You know Hunter McElroy is going to get a win sooner or later. You know Darren Keene is going to stand on top of the box before the season's done. So it could be today. Darren Keene ready to line up to see if he can't take advantage of this restart. Again, a very long run when they get the green to come down into turn number 1. If Keene is on the throttle and can get underneath that wing, we may find ourselves with a battle heading into the opening corner here. But just a couple of laps remaining. When we go back to green, it'll be 2 to go here in USF 2000.
We certainly aren't limited potentially. I guess I say that maybe early, but by the time, I think we'll be able to complete this thing without going into a timed race. Braden Eves, Darren Keene, Hunter McElroy, Jack Crawford, and Alex Barron. They are your top 5. May keep an eye on Alex Barron, too, here on the restart. He has had several good restarts.
I was going to say the same thing about Jack Crawford. His debut here in USF 2000, he wants a podium. And Crawford, driver to Houston, Texas. Look for him to try to make a move on McElroy as well. Pace car will duck on off as the field now into the hands of Braden Eves. He's been masterful thus far in the restarts we've had here. A couple of full course yellows have challenged him to hold on to that lead, but right now still on the point. He'll come through 13 to 14, Michael. Away we go.
Watching Hunter McElroy. He is all over the rear wing of Darren Keene. Did that last time and lost a spot. We'll see if he is able to pounce as the field works their way out of turn number 14. We go back to green flag racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Another great start here for the number 8 machine, but here we go. Keene's going to spool things back up. Keene gets the toe coming down to turn number 1. Keene's going to go to the outside. Eves to the inside. Keene trying to roll the outside. Doesn't quite do it. He holds the spot, though. McElroy still in third. It's still Crawford fourth and Barron fifth. No change in the front-running 5 drivers on this restart. But again, Keene got side by side with Eves all the way up into turn number 1, but just couldn't make the move into that corner.
I watched Alex Barron. He swung wide as well. I thought he was potentially going to make a move, but was unable to get around Jack Crawford. Jack had a nice restart as well.
There's a move to the inside. Cota Dickerson going to the blocking line to the left side of Hullman Boulevard, trying to hold off Christian Rasmussen in the number 6 machine. They'll work their way through 7, 8, and 9. Eves still the leader. Keene second. Hunter McElroy in third. Great battle further back, though. That's Barron battling it out, I believe. Is that Barrichello making a move potentially up there?
I thought maybe Dickerson got around Barron.
I think that's Barrichello up into 5th spot from 8th. The red number 41 machine. We'll look at and get a visual when they come back around here.
Indeed,
yeah.
Wow.
So what a great opening lap here for Eduardo Barrichello.
in the Miller Vinatieri Motorsports, number 41. He has gotten to P5, getting ahead of both of the Legacy Autosport cars.
Made up 3 positions on that restart. A great restart for Barrichello. And Hunter McElroy on the charge again. 2 car lengths behind Darren Keene, starting to look to the inside. Now the outside, back to the inside to turn number 1.
Colin Kaminsky in the number 23 machine trying to find a way by Anthony Famularo. And here's that battle again into turn number 1. Final circuit, I believe, here now. We've got 2 to go. Two still to go. We'll see the white flag next time by. One driver taking the cutoff further back. I think that was potentially Matt Round-Garrido in the number 5, overcooking it into turn number 1. But this battle, I think, for second is the one we're going to watch right now. Darren Keene doesn't have anything for Braden Eves, at least here on the penultimate lap. But Hunter McElroy in that machine pushing hard. Dickerson still in the middle of that battle with Kristen Rasmussen. That's for the 7th spot as they work their way down Hellman Boulevard. But look at Braden Eves doing it again. Pulling away. Another solid restart, pulling away as your leader.
Not only in the start, then 3 restarts after that with the cautions. It's been a very impressive afternoon for Braden Eves as he now has about a 10-car length advantage over Darren Keene. The battle will be for second. Hunter McElroy is in third, wants to get it from Darren Keene as we get set to see the white flag this time by.
Eves, Keene, McElroy, Crawford, and Barrichello top 5. Barron runs 6th, Dickerson 7th, Rasmussen 8th, Famularo 9th, and Kaminsky in 10th. Cameron Shields back up to 15th after that incident. White flag flying here at start-finish. Pretty wide open in terms of the gap between everybody in the top 5 now. Cameron Shields, I'm not seeing him come back around in the number 73, so that could be it for Shields. Not sure what happened to Cameron. At least he didn't pick up unless he's already into pit lane. We didn't see him come down pit lane. Indeed, though, Eves on the final circuit. A 0.7 of a second lead to begin this last lap here for USF2000. He is looking to go 4 straight wins to start the 2019 season. And Cape Motorsports runs first and second. Eves and Keene. Here comes the 73. Front wing damage for Cameron Shields. Tough one for Cameron. All happened there on the lap that brought out the yellow, that incident with Manuel Suleiman. But final circuit here for Braden Eves in the number 8 machine to win his 4th straight event of 2019. His teammate Darren Keene still with enough of a gap on Hunter McElroy that he is going to be able to hold on for second. Final couple of corners here. The USF 2000 drivers navigating them well. Capping things off before we go Indy Pro 2000 racing. And coming through the final circuits. What a run here today. He worked his way through a couple of restarts. But back-to-back jacks here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Road Course. Braden Eves, the winner by a half a second over Darren Keene. Hunter McElroy on the podium once again in third. Jack Crawford comes home fourth. What a run, Michael, for Eduardo Barrichello. Barrichello started 10th, was 8th at the start of that restart, and was able to go to 5th. What a great run for him.
And impressive and for Miller Vinatieri Motorsports to have that finish and to see how good Jack William Miller was as well for this young team. Very, very promising for 2019.
Yeah, they'll take this as a major positive for sure. Legacy Autosport improving impressively from Friday's action. Alex Barron ends up in 6th. Dakota Dickerson able to hold off a charging Christian Rasmussen in 7th. Anthony Famularo in the 9th spot, and Colin Kaminsky moving up late in the race to get 10th. Bruno Tomaselli in 11th, Reese Gold in 12th, Yuvan Sundaramurthy in 13th spot, Nolan Siegel 14th, Christian Bogle, the final driver to complete the 20 laps in the 15th spot. Issues, as we said, for Cameron Shields, Matt Round-Garrido, Manuel Suleiman, Jack Miller, Manuel Cabrera, and Zach Holden not able to get a lap in.
Victory Podium Celebration coming up next, our first race of the day. We welcome each and every one of you to the greatest race course in the world, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's race day, the IndyCar Grand Prix.
101.
Welcome to another episode of Road to Indy 101. This weekend we're at Cota. We're going to give you a behind-the-scenes look of Indy Lights Tech. We're here in the garages at Cota with Indy Lights Technical Director Craig Brooks. Standing in front of the Indy Lights setup pad. Today, Craig's going to give us a behind-the-scenes tour of what goes on in tech. Craig, why don't you give us a basic overview of what it is that you guys do here?
Well, basically, you're standing in front of the tech pad. The cars roll up on here. The black pads you see here will come up after we put what we call pucks on the bottom of the tub. Car rolls up, we get a weight, the scales drop down, then we measure everything off of this flat surface.
What is the total weight for the car and driver for this series?
Depends. It's right around 1,400.
So what are some examples of things that you're looking for that teams might be doing that would be out of the regulations?
Things we check are like wing angles, wing heights, floor heights, what we call deflection. So much weight on the wings, they can only deflect so much. Just, general things like that.
Right. So Craig, what kind of technology do you guys use here at Tech to manage your process?
We use RevTech technology software, really cool software. All the Indy Lights techs around the pad, we have one in the front, one in the back, one on each side. They all have iPads. Mm-hmm. So we have cut down the communication gap a ton. We don't really even have to talk in here. Everybody sees what everybody else is doing, and as they're putting it in on their iPad, it comes up on my screen.
So it's all about efficiency here at Tech.
Absolutely, yep.
Between you, me, and the viewers, how good are the teams here at the Indy Lights paddock? Do you catch them cheating a lot?
No, not at all. And, when somebody does fail or something like that, it's usually just a mistake. These guys are really professional. They know what they're doing. They know what's at stake. So we really don't have a lot of trouble.
Thanks for this behind-the-scenes tour of Indy Lights Tech, Craig. We'll see you at the next event in Indy.
Yeah, my pleasure. Glad to help.
Scott crossing the yard marks. Huge wreck.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International Raceway. The perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
Pretty brave move to put these tires on straight up race cars.
The racetrack is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International Raceway. The perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
It's a pretty brave move to put these tires on straight up race cars.
The racetrack is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
Look at
this freight train as now the Lucas starts down to the inside. 3 wide through turn 4. Something's gotta give.
Road to Indy, beyond the grid.
Hi, I'm Toby from Cambridge in the United Kingdom, and I'm racing the number 2 BM Pelfrey Indy Lights car. I'm from St Neots, just outside of Cambridge in the United Kingdom. I grew up in a place called Melbourne, which is about 20 minutes away, so it's still fairly local. And yeah, I'm out here racing the Indy Lights. The way I got into racing was just primarily for fun. It happened to be a karting party when I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. So it wasn't anything like put in, follow my father's footsteps at a young age sort of deal, just purely for the love of the sport. In the UK, I do instructing work, so I work for MSV, which run half of the tracks in the UK as an instructor. So if someone wants to learn how to drive, I sit next to them and teach them and try and bring them on. I also do some mechanic work for karting teams that I used to race with. You know, I'm still very heavily involved in motorsports outside of my own racing, just purely for the love of the sport. So outside of racing, I hang around with a small group of friends that I have. Obviously racing travels a lot, so having some local friends is difficult, but you know, I've got some very good racing friends locally that I, you know, play some pool with, go to the pub occasionally, not too much, being a racing driver, but yeah, so it's, you know, a very chilled atmosphere outside of the racing, you know, take your mind away from the serious sports side and just let your hair down a bit. I'm looking forward to Road America again. Obviously, we had a very good result last year, so I think going back in a slightly quicker car is going to be a new challenge. But obviously this weekend, you know, being an F1 circuit as well, it's always something that you look forward to, and it's a great facility, and you know, the atmosphere so far is incredible. Follow me on the road to Indy. You can follow me on social media on Instagram at Toby and at Twitter on Toby Racing.
It's a gorgeous South Florida morning here at the Palm Beach International Raceway. The perfect setting to test out the new Cooper Xeon RS3 G1 tires.
Pretty brave move to put these tires on straight up race cars.
The race truck is the perfect scenario for this particular tire.
All day they were great, super predictable on the breakaway.
The tires, they seem like they have a lot of grip. You'll get a lot of use out of the tires.
Coming through that corner. Drivers who are set to go here for their second race of this doubleheader weekend. Starting on row number 7, it will be Charles Finelli on the outside for Fat Boy Racing in the number 83 machine, while on the inside, keep your eye on the number 8 of Parker Thompson, the current point leader, struggling a little bit for pace here today, this weekend rather, but he was able to get a pretty good run in yesterday. They've been working on the car all weekend long, so look for Parker Thompson in the number 8 to try to work his way forward. On row number 6 from the outside, Philippe Dennis in the number 98 for Fat Boy Racing. The rookie will start in the 12th position. Inside of that row from Canada in the number 11, it's Antonio Serravalle.
Moving now up to row number 5 on the outside from Mexico. For D-Force Racing, a veteran of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires, Moises de Oliveira in the number 6 starting on the outside. On the inside for Abel Motorsports, Jacob Abel in the number 51. Moving now to row number 4 on the outside, the rookie Jacob Loomis, his debut weekend here in the Indy Pro 2000 category. He'll be in the number 9, starting in the 8th spot, while on the inside, it's Corey Enders in the number 7 for D-Force Racing. Row number 3, we'll see Nikita Listoshkin on the outside for Exclusive Autosport, the driver out of Los Angeles, California, in the number 90, starting 6th. And on the inside from Guatemala, his debut weekend here in the Indy Pro 2000 category, Ian Rodriguez for RP Motorsports Racing in the number 5. Moving now to row number 2 on the outside from Singapore in the number 68 for Exclusive Autosport, a podium finisher yesterday, Daniel Frost in the number 68, starting in the 4th position. And on the inside, Kyle Kirkwood, the champion in the Cooper Tires USF2000 championship last year. Kirkwood out of Jupiter, Florida, running for RP Motorsports Racing, will start in 3rd. On the front row, on the outside from Payette, Idaho, the impressive American driver Stingray Robb in the number 2 will start 2nd. Great starting spot for that driver for Juncos Racing outside of the front row. But the driver they're going to be chasing here, who scored his first victory yesterday from Sweden, the Juncos Racing driver Rasmus Lindt in the number 10, starting on the pole position after laying down a 1:18.889 in qualifying yesterday. So it'll be Lindt and Robb on row 1, Kirkwood and Frost on row 2, Rodriguez and Listoshkin on row 3, Enders and Loomis row 4, Abel and De Oliveira on row 5, Saravalli and Dennis on row 6, Thompson and Finelli on row number 7. Once again, folks, I have been charged with getting these drivers fired up and ready to go. So just seconds away to getting things rolling. We have 14 drivers in Indy Pro 2000 ready to go. So, folks, on behalf of Cooper Tires, drivers, start your engines!
Rob, thank you very much. We'll have Rob back up here in the pagoda with us in just a matter of moments. Again, this is the final on-track activity for the Indy Pro 2000 drivers. Not for the month of May, but here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Again, these cars will be out at Lucas Oil Raceway coming up in just a couple of weeks for some oval track experience. Parker Thompson swept both of the first 2 races of the season that took place at St. Petersburg. But a great showing by Rasmus Lindt yesterday. Pole position, led the most laps, and was once again the winning driver of race number 1 of the 2 that these cars will be taking part of. The upcoming Indy Pro 2000 race. This will be 25 laps or 50 minutes, whichever comes first. 14 different car and driver combinations that are taking to the track here for this event. This is the second rung of the ladder that is the Road to Indy. Drivers start at the USF 2000 series, making their way to Indy Pro 2000. And then, of course, the Indy Lights drivers. And you saw those drivers on the track between 8:30 and 9 this morning. You'll see them back again for a potentially up to a full hour of racing taking place during the 1 o'clock hour. Of course, the next on-track activity following this will be the NTT IndyCar Series. They have a 30-minute warm-up before they go racing just after 3:30 this afternoon. And Greg Rakestraw with you, joined once again by the busiest man in motorsports this weekend, the omnipresent Rob Howden.
Back up in the booth after getting a chance to introduce these 14 drivers. And I think, Greg, we need to keep our eye on the number 8, Parker Thompson, from the tail of the field. They have worked diligently throughout the Thursday, Friday, and now Saturday session to try to get this car to where it needs to be. He was the fastest driver at St. Petersburg, dominated the action, won both main events, but they just didn't unload with a good setup here. And that's what Parker told me. The car that they unloaded with, the setup that they decided to come with, just wasn't what they needed. And that's the interesting thing about this Able Motorsports team. They're brand new, so they come in with a complete blank sheet of paper anytime they go somewhere, and sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. They're working their way to kind of getting a setup that can challenge up front, but 1.5 seconds off in qualifying. Parker had a good run yesterday to be able to get into the top 5, but he'll need some more of that luck here today.
From a points standings standpoint, Parker Thompson 4 points clear of Rasmus Lint in second place in the driver standings. Daniel Frost coming in third, and Kyle Kirkwood. He have back-to-back runner-up finishes with 59 points, and if there was a driver that had the most adventurous drive of a day ago, it would be Kirkwood.
Yeah, no doubt about that. A pretty aggressive call by race director Johnny Unser. Probably actually worked in Kyle Kirkwood's favor. Yesterday, he jumped the start as they came out of turn number 14. They waved it off and went yellow instead and moved him to the very tail of the field. The other option, Greg, would have been to give him a drive-through. Start the race and give him the drive-through penalty, which probably would have finished his race completely. So Kirkwood, although not happy with the call, probably potentially got a little bit lucky with the actual penalty that was delivered. Rasmus Lint, driver who last year was one of the top runners in the USF2000 program, wasn't able to get a victory but finished well in points just simply because he was that quick, got a lot of consistent results. Stingray Robb, his teammate for Juncos Racing, starting on the outside, his best career Indy Pro 2000 starting spot, and Stingray in his third year here in the Indy Pro 2000 category. Started in 2017. Last year had a strong run as well. Didn't do USF 2000, went first right into the Indy Pro category, and he is primed and ready to score a race win here as well. I've been impressed with Ian Rodriguez. That's the other name I was going to bring up. Driver from Guatemala. His first event with us here in the Indy Pro program. A lot of experience in the Italian F4 series, but Ian's been pretty strong here for RP Motorsport.
Reference the fact that Rasmus Lint didn't get a win last year while driving USF 2000. That's because Kirkwood took them all last year.
Pretty much. 13 race wins for Kirkwood to win that championship in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 program. Has the scholarship from Mazda, running with RP Motorsports Racing. Kirkwood, a tremendous talent out of Jupiter, Florida. Both he and Oliver Askew from Jupiter. But right now, it's all about Rasmus Lint. He will lead them as they come out of turn number 14. We're going to get ready to go for our second of the 3 Road to Indy events here Saturday at the IndyCar Grand Prix. And again, as they come out, it's an all Juncos front row. Lint on the inside, Robb on the outside, looking for that green flag. They'll spool things up and we're underway. Green, green, green. Excellent start for Kirkwood. He'll follow Lint down into turn number 1. In fact, Kirkwood could be going for the lead. Big move to the outside for Daniel Frost as he's trying to find some room as well. They'll work their way through the corner. Listowskin on the outside of Frost. Pretty solid through that corner. Drivers getting through 1 cleanly. We see more of that in Indy Pro, Greg. Obviously, USF 2000 drivers can get a little over-anxious. Indy Pro, a little more seasoned here on the road to Indy. A really clean start.
It's also a simple matter of car count as well. You've got to fit 21 cars, not at the same time, but with a few fewer cars, with 14, made it a little bit easier to deal with. However, you were looking at 3 and 4 wide at times down the front straightaway. An impressive start to this race by this entire field.
I was wondering whether or not Kyle Kirkwood was going to try to go to the lead, but he actually falls to third here now, as Stingray Robb was able to get through that corner in the P2 position. So moves Stingray Robb to second. Those 2 Juncos drivers pulling away a little bit here. Rasmus Lint, the Swede, looking to go back-to-back here at Indianapolis. Robb in second, Kirkwood third, Frost in fourth. I believe Listowskin up into the 5th spot, but we'll get a better look when they come by the stripe here for us. Everyone's settling in. Pretty good battle further back. I think that's 7th, 8th, and 9th. Or actually a little farther back in 9th, 10th, and 11th. Indeed, Nikita Listowskin falling back a couple of spots. Listowskin will try to pick up him. Listowskin's actually, that's him in P3. Pardon me, that's actually Listowskin in the 3rd spot. Frost in 4th. Rodriguez 5th. Kyle Kirkwood into the pits here, Greg. An issue for Kirkwood in the number 28 machine, broken front wing.
We talked about how he's able to salvage his day yesterday. Sent to the back, got it all the way to second. It appears the racing luck, not as much with him today. And while yesterday was a day to salvage points, it'll be a plummet down the championship standings of the Indy Pro 2000 Series for Kirkwood today.
Well, that team's got to go to work to see if they can get that nose off and get him back out onto the racetrack with a fresh nose, and then potentially cross your fingers for a full course yellow. But yeah, disastrous here for Kirkwood as he falls to the tail of the field. Good run here, though, for Nikita Listoshkin in the number 90 for Exclusive Autosports up into the third spot. Daniel Frost runs fourth, Rodriguez fifth. Jacob Loomis, single-car team, family-run operation, P6, and Parker Thompson up to seventh. Impressive opening lap for Parker Thompson in that number 8 machine. We'll look at the lap times to see whether or not they found the speed they need, but Parker using his racecraft to get himself back up into P7.
And we talked about this yesterday, Rob, where, again, you didn't have the car, didn't have the equipment that he had the first weekend in St. Petersburg, but managed to race his way up to 5th. We're seeing that in the very early going here for Parker Thompson.
Well, again, for Parker, when you come to a race like this, and as I said in talking to him yesterday or last night, they just did not unload with a car that was quick at all. They were well off the pace, and they've been throwing like the kitchen sink at it all the time, trying to get something to stick and then work from there. Everything they tried wasn't even working. So they tried different stuff on his teammate Jacob Abel's car, different stuff on Parker's car. They're getting closer, he said, but nowhere near where they still need to be. We'll look more at lap times as they get rolling, but Rasmus Lint, driver who's looking to try to take control of the championship here. As they run, he'd have 110 points. He'd have a 15-point lead on Parker Thompson, as Lint, of course, had a better weekend at St. Petersburg than Parker is having here at Indianapolis.
By the way, it appears that Kirkwood did get the car up and going, but again, he's dealing with being a lap down very early in this race, so now he's got to hope for some unfortunate happenings for other drivers, some attrition, again, just trying to make up some points and try to salvage what he can out of this second race this weekend.
So, again, looking at Loomis there, Jacob Loomis having a great run. P6 right now for Loomis. Impressive for that team. Again, Moses Smith working with that squad. Daniel Frost laying down the fast lap of the race here. Driver out of Singapore for Exclusive Autosport, a 119.618. Frost able to get by his teammate Listoshkin. So move Daniel Frost back into third, Listoshkin to fourth. Good run here for the Exclusive Autosports crew. Currently running in third and fourth. Again, Jacob Loomis in that 5th spot, driver out of Texas, putting a program together, buying one of the Tatis PM18s, got that car put together and making his debut here after doing some testing down in Texas. And the same thing with Parker Thompson and the Able Motorsports crew, Greg. Loomis comes in here with absolutely no data whatsoever. You have no idea what setup you're going to put on the car. You do something you think is going to be a pretty good baseline for a flat, smooth racetrack with high speed, and then you build from there. Every session you're trying to make gains, and even if you go slower, that's not a negative, it's a positive. You can go in the other direction, but it's just a process of being able to find that speed, make the car better every session. Although in a race like this, you're on track for maybe 6-7 sessions max on a weekend.
And the thing is that this is the only time they're on track today. So whatever data you learned yesterday, it's all theory. You can't go test it. You're hoping when you make a change from Friday to Saturday, this is the lab right here, this race that is taking place as we speak.
Most definitely. We're going to watch the battle potentially between Jacob Loomis and Parker Thompson. Both those drivers pretty evenly matched. Thompson's definitely found some speed, a 120.5 for Parker Thompson, 119.9 for Rasmus Lint, only 0.6 of a second off. In qualifying, he was off by about 1.4 seconds. So Parker, they have found some speed in that number 8 machine for Able Motorsports. And really, Greg, that's one of the reasons why Parker Thompson's there. Jacob Abel, it's a family team. Able Motorsports, they brought Parker in, a veteran driver in the series, a race winner in Indy Pro last year. Bring him in and get him to help you with the setup. The feedback he's providing to that team, their engineers, they're building that database of knowledge and setup information that Jacob will be able to use next year.
And we referenced this yesterday that while there were a couple of drivers that had Indiana ties in the USF2000 series, not the case in the Indy Pro series, but Abel is the closest. He is originally from Louisville. So this is a bit of a home event for him this weekend.
I would tell you that almost every driver here wants to call this place home.
Of course.
So that's especially right beside us here in the Victory Podium. That's where they want to call home. And we've seen some guys do it. Braden Eves and USF2000 back-to-back wins here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Rasmus Lint trying to do the same thing. He'd like to go 2 for 2 here at IMS. And I guarantee you that Robert McGinnis and Indy Lights would like to do it because he's trying to follow in the footsteps of Colton Herta, who won both races in Indy Lights here on the road course last year and the Freedom 100. You do the sweep. You win all 3 races in Indianapolis in May, and you've done something special.
Let's talk about, though, what is happening at the front 3 of the field, and that is that Rasmus Lindh starting to pull away from his teammate in Stingray Robb. In fact, right now the gap from second to third, about half of that is what it is from second to first. In other words, instead of chasing his teammate in front of him, Stingray Robb's going to have to worry about the guy in his rearview mirror. Frost set the fastest lap of the race in race 3 and has gotten closer to him lap 4 and lap 5.
And indeed, on the last lap, Daniel Frost in that number 68 machine actually quicker than the leader, Rasmus Lindh. Not by much, just about a tenth of a second. But nonetheless, Frost still very quick in the number 68. He was 0.3 faster than Stingray Robb. He's only a half a second back. So we may see ourselves with a battle for second spot here pretty soon between the number 2 of Stingray Robb and the 68 of Daniel Frost. Parker Thompson definitely closing up to Jacob Loomis as well. Quicker by a half a second last time by. So we're going to see a fight there too. Number 5 of Rodriguez closing up to Listoshkin. So I think we've got 3 battles potentially brewing here for 2nd, 4th, and 6th.
Yeah, the 4-5 battle, by the way, is down to about 0.3 of a second. So that is about the closest gap on the racetrack right now. Listoshkin in the 90, Rodriguez in the 5.
Good run for Philippe Dennis again, too. He's in the middle of a battle here with Anthony Saravale. They're not that far behind Moses De Oliveira. That is 8th, 9th, and 10th. Jacob Abel about 2.6 seconds back. Abel does not have a lot of experience, just started racing a couple of years ago, but has been very impressive. Did a couple of years of karts and then up into cars, and coming off a win in the F3 program recently, and excited to see what Jacob Abel can do here as part of this road to Indy. And again, for them, every race weekend is a fresh weekend where they're just filling that data book. That's all what it's all about.
And Rob, let's talk about this. You touched on the difference in experience at the start. Again, when saying, hey, you have 14 cars, you're 3 or 4 wide, but they're able to get through turn 1 cleanly. An experience standpoint, it's easy to say. From a power standpoint, from a car standpoint, what's the difference in these cars and what fans just saw in the USF2000 series?
If I were to put it in one sentence, it's more of everything is really what it is. It's 100 more horsepower. The brakes are much more aggressive, better brakes, more like the tires are wider, so more grip, more aerodynamic downforce. So yeah, we shrink down that the braking zone coming into turn number 1 with the braking package that we have. But again, when in talking about experience, you look at a guy like Rasmus Lindh, Daniel Frost, Stingray Robb, Nikita Listoshkin. They went through those issues early in USF2000 and maybe overcooking it to turn number 1. All of them have been involved in start line incidents. It's that experience that allows them to get through clean, to give each other some more room. That's the difference between the drivers in USF2000. So many of them coming right out of karting, where there's maybe a little more contact than you'd have here in open wheel formula car racing. And that's why we see incidents, I think, happen more in USF2000 and less in Indy Pro.
By the way, Rasmus Lindh back to the top of the field, starting to create even more of a gap with his teammate in Stingray Robb. That has now grown to 1.6 seconds from first place to second place as Rasmus Lindh looks for the weekend sweep here in Indianapolis in this Indy Pro 2000 series.
One of the issues when you're trying to make a pass on someone here, you got to get done on the straightaway. If you're trying to close up in some of the faster parts of the track, if you're too close, you lose that air off the front wing, and the car will start to get what they call aero wash, or kind of it'll start to push a little bit, and it just won't turn in when you're trying to get the thing to get positive and turn in. So we're watching that right now with Parker Thompson. He's most definitely closing up here on Jacob Loomis, but he's kind of stalled at about 0.4 of a second back. Rodriguez was closing up on Listoshkin as well. That's that battle for 4th spot. Listoshkin in the black and red exclusive Autosports number 90. Listoshkin in the black and gray number 5 for RP Motorsports Racing. But it's just in this last lap, Listoshkin's kind of dialed things in. It went a half a second faster and has pushed that gap out to about a full second. So Kyle Kirkwood lap back, as we said, being told the number 13 has spun on the racetrack. So potentially a driver spinning on track. We don't have a 13, but a driver did go around. We'll see who falls down the order, potentially gets back going again here, but indeed one driver going around. Otherwise, up front, no issues for Rasmus Lindh. It's been a perfect weekend for the driver from Sweden. Did not get a win in USF2000, but looking to get 2 of them here early in the season for Indy Pro. Rasmuth Lint running for Juncos Racing, the team that won the championship last year with Renus VK. And they run first and second now in Lint and Robb.
And Lint is kind of consistently putting about a tenth or 2/10 of a second of an additional gap between he and Robb pretty much every lap through. And again, Robb now has Frost 7/10 of a second back here behind him. So he's doing a good job of consistently holding off the man behind him in third, but is losing ground on his teammate in first.
One of the interesting things we're watching here is the fact that Listoshkin was a half a second quicker than Rodriguez. And then this last lap, Rodriguez a half a second quicker on the other side. These drivers they're kind of swapping back and forth between 20.2s and 20.7s. Neither driver able to knock out that consistent lap time to pull away. So Rodriguez closes back up to within 4/10 of a second.
I think the driver that got around was Charles Finelli about a lap or so ago, Rob. And again, he's kind of been running his own race over the last couple of days. He did not take a time in either of the qualifying sessions yesterday, currently in 13th place. So he did not lose position because of that off track. But again, that's the driver that was briefly off.
Well, let's put it this way. Here's one thing to consider. All these drivers we talk about in USF2000, Indy Lights, anywhere from about 14 to 22, 23 years of age. We have a couple in their high 20s. Let's just say Charles is north of 50. So here's a guy out here who has a blast racing, and the amount of pace that he puts on and coming to run with us last year, so impressive for the speed that he shows running against these youngsters. Charles Finelli, a 1:24.4 last time by. He's about 2 to 3 seconds off the pace here this weekend. He's a lot quicker at some of the other tracks, but we love having Charles here. Fat Boy Racing is the team. They're great people. They've brought in Philippe Dennis as a second car here this year, so awesome to have Philippe there. But the Fat Boy Racing guys know how to have a good time here at the racetrack, and when they go racing, they do. Of course, Philippe Dennis started near the very front of the pack yesterday, and I expect Philippe to run for top 5 finishes here in 2019.
Currently running 10th is his teammate in Philippe Dennis currently.
So watching again the potential battle between Jacob Loomis and Parker Thompson. That is 6th and 7th. Parker just kind of chipping away at it, inching forward, just over 3/10 of a second back. Was a 10th quicker last time by. And Thompson just trying to keep pushing on young Loomis to see if he can't force him into a mistake here. Coming out of turn number 11 through 12. Or 212, rather. Coming through 11 here, back up onto the racetrack between turns 1 and 2 on the oval. Diving back into turn number 12. A couple of battles forming up. Daniel Frost not letting Stingray Robb get away at all. They're 4/10 of a second back. Here's that next battle, Listoshkin and Rodriguez. What's the gap there? About 6/10 of a second. Same with Loomis and Thompson. That's a half a second. De La Vera and Serra separated by about 7/10 of a second. So we've got about 3 or 4 battles potentially shaping up.
Yeah, right now the closest battle on the track is that battle for position, both a podium battle. Stingray Robb in second, Daniel Frost in third.
For me, it's the impressive run right now for Rasmuth Lint in that number 10 machine for Juncos Racing. When he came into the program last year, I knew the speed he had. I'd watched him run in top-level karting events, both internationally and coming over to run a couple of the big races here in the U.S., and the kid just has blinding speed, and it's the confidence that a lot of these young drivers are looking for. Last year, Rasmuth involved in a couple of incidents, wasn't able to get that breakout win that provides so much confidence and momentum for these young pilots. Yesterday's victory is really working for him, and if he gets another one here, he is going to be strong. Although the interesting thing about it is for these drivers here, they go from a track, Greg, that is something that they're used to, obviously, a road course here. When they go to the oval at Lucas Oil Raceway, for a young Swedish guy like Rasmuth Lint, it's going to be eyes wide open when they get around that track.
That bullring, of course, comes up in just a couple of weeks. You'll see the drivers of the Indy Lights Series, of course, here for the Freedom 100. The drivers in kind of steps 2 and 3 of the Road to Indy ladder, they're over at Lucas Oil Raceway on Indy 500 weekend.
Yeah, the USF2000 drivers run the Freedom 75, Indy Pro the Freedom 90. And the interesting thing about that racetrack is, common thought when you're running an oval is you're out at the wall, you get into the corner, you drop it down to the apex and let it rise back out to the wall. With the amount of downforce we have on these cars, they just run right around the wall, all the way around for 75 and 90 laps respectively. And the drivers will tell you when they get out, maybe a little dizzy. And happy that it's over, I think, sometimes, because it is some pretty exciting racing running up on the wall like they do.
So the outside line is preferred, but just no Darlington stripe is what you're telling me on those cars.
Exactly that. But the key is you have to be able to make the car to work on the bottom still. Fast ways around the top, but when you're potentially coming up for some lap cars or a driver you're trying to get by, you've got to be strong on the bottom of the racetrack.
By the way, let's talk about the battle for second and third, because we had talked about that shaping up to be the best battle on the track. Stingray Robb has found something. He's gotten a little bit more separation. Last time by, that lead was right at about a second. And as we watch him go by the timing and scoring stripe, it is the same. So a little more cushion now for Stingray Robb in second place.
Back-to-back 119.9. Some couple of really good laps below that 120 mark for Stingray Robb. In fact, all three of the leaders into the 119.9s. Daniel Frost 119.8 around this racetrack. So Frost still within a second. Closest battle further back, still Parker Thompson trying to get by Jacob Loomis. Still that 0.3 of a second off. Again, a 1/10 of a second quicker for Thompson, but Jacob Loomis, I'm impressed with a guy like Parker Thompson behind him with such a resume, such a reputation. To have him push him behind you like that, Jacob Loomis has not flinched at all.
We talked about the job that Thompson has done again. Maybe doesn't have the best equipment this weekend, but has been a solid race driver each of the last 2 days.
He's trying to go by Loomis right now. Tried to go to the outside of turn number 7, wasn't able to make that stick, and I think we're going to have a battle for further back as well. Indeed, I believe that De La Vera and Saravalli have closed back up. Moises De La Vera right on the rear now of Parker Thompson. Parker tried to move on the outside of turn 7, didn't work, and that allowed De La Vera to close up. So we've got 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th within about a second. Indeed, as they work their way through the final quarter on this racetrack, Parker Thompson needs to get that breathing room back from De La Vera. And hey, you know what? Looking at the lap times last time by, De La Vera's coming. 120.5 last time, a 121 flat. He was a full second quicker than Parker Thompson on this last lap.
Frankly, there's not big of a gap at this point, Rob, from 6 all the way back to 11. So
True.
all the racing activity in the middle of the field has allowed some of the guys on the tail end of the lead lap to play a little catch-up.
We'll see how things shake out here, but you're right. It's Loomis in 6th in the number 9. It's Parker Thompson in the white number 8. De La Vera in the white and blue number 6. Saravalli in 9th in the number 11. And Philippe Dennis in that bright yellow number 98. Then Jacob Abel in the number 51. All those drivers within probably about maybe 5 seconds total, if you go all the way back to Abel as well.
And you've got the fine line between holding your position and blocking. The number 9 car of Loomis has been given a warning for blocking. So, again, learning what you can do, learning what you can't do in a race car is part of this developmental series as well. And so we'll keep our eyes on that for number 9 and Loomis.
Move by Saravalli to go around the outside of De La Vera. Does he make it stick as they come through? I don't think so. I think he slotted back in. But, yeah, Saravalli to the inside. Oh, big squirrel coming through turn number 13. Saravalli getting a little bit anxious. Here comes Dennis around the outside. They'll go side by side coming onto the front straightaway. Philippe Dennis up against the wall. Saravalli in the bottom of the racetrack in that red number 11, that Passera Racing entry. And Dennis, I believe, completing the pass. But here comes Saravalli looking back to the inside into the braking zone. That's a fight for 9th position now. And give it to Dennis. Philippe Dennis is going to take it. That was Saravalli trying to get by De La Vera. He was side by side coming out of turn number 11. Couldn't get the pass done in 12. Tried to make the move to the inside of 13, got up on the curb, but the car got really squirrely on him, almost rotated around. And losing that run at a 13, that's the run that leads you down into turn number 1. You have to be good there. If you can't get out of 13, you lose all the drive all the way out down to turn number 1. Rasmuth Lint in the number 10 now leading by 1.9 seconds, looking to get his second win here in Indy Pro 2000 competition. Stingray Robb still in second. Daniel Frost closes up to within a second now. Wow, getting 0.4 of a second there. Daniel Frost down to a 119.9, quicker than both of the leaders. If Frost can continue that pace, we may see a fight for second, but otherwise, it's a 0.6 of a second gap.
And again, this is kind of getting back between second and third to what we saw maybe 10 laps ago, where again, Stingray Robb had pushed that out to have a bit more of a cushion, but clearly Frost has got something in terms of the pace of that car as he still maintains having the fastest lap of the race earlier.
Parker Thompson closing back to 0.7 of a second on Jacob Loomis. He's got that cushion rebuilt on De La Vera in 8th. 1.9 seconds from Thompson back to De La Vera, so he needs that cushion so he can go back to work and see if he can't get by Loomis. They'll work their way down Holman Boulevard from 6 down to turn number 7. Rasmus Lint. What a weekend he has had here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. First career Road to Indy victory, lining up to back it up with a second here. Lint, Robb, and Frost looks like the podium at this point. Daniel Frost, does he get any closer this time by? About the same. In fact, he lost 1/10 of a second, still 0.6 back. Nikita Listoshkin, his best run of the year, in 4th spot. He's been able to pull away from Ian Rodriguez, who's in 5th. Then it's that battle for 6th and 7th.
But what's interesting, Rob, is that 6 and 7 have kind of separated from the guys behind them and have gotten closer to Rodriguez in 5th. And right now, as we talk about the podium spots, there's about an 8-second gap from 3rd to 4th. But the race is starting to compact a little bit for the guys in the middle of the field.
This is really interesting. You're right. Rodriguez, a 1:21.8, running on the track by himself. Jacob Loomis was a second, 1.2 seconds faster that last lap. He's only 1.5 back. We may find ourselves in the battle for P5. And again, as they run on the racetrack, if Lint were to win, he'd have 109 points, would leave Indianapolis with a 14-point lead on Parker Thompson. Thompson, again, trying to limit that bleeding to see if he can't get himself back up to 6th, potentially 5th. But Rasmus Lint coming off some pretty good finishes at St. Petersburg, looking to grab the point lead as we head to Lucas Oil Raceway at the end of the month. Again, the battle shaping up for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Daniel Frost most definitely closer to Stingray Robb to within 0.4 of a second now. Frost looking to challenge here as we still have about 7 laps remaining, or 6 laps remaining.
Rob, on that last lap, he took about 0.2 of a second off. So obviously, if he can maintain that pace, there is still time to jump to a taller podium spot and pick up more points if Frost can get around Robb here in these final 7 laps.
Jacob Loomis having a look to the inside of Ian Rodriguez. They have arrived on the scene. Rodriguez better watch out now because Loomis ready to attack. And if they get slowed up at all, I expect to see Moises de la Vera and Philippe Dennis come into the fight there as well. They'll need to get by Rodriguez potentially as they work their way out of the switchback now, 5 and 6 into 7. This long run down Holman Boulevard. Not close enough, I don't think.
It is a virtual conga line right now between spots 5 and 11 on the track. That's where the most contentious battle is, and they're getting ready to make the exit out of Holman Boulevard as we speak.
I think we're going to set up for a run down the front straightaway here. Jacob Loomis, got to be patient. Don't make a low percentage move. Parker Thompson's going to go around the outside of Loomis, potentially coming out of turn number 12 or turn 11. Different story here for Ian Rodriguez. He was putting the pressure on Nikita Listoshkin for a time. Now finds himself potentially dropping back to 7th as he's got 2 young lions. Here comes Parker Thompson. He's to the inside of Loomis. Thompson to P6 over in turn 13. So Parker Thompson leveraging the fact that Loomis got caught up a little bit behind Rodriguez. He'll go to the bottom of the track. Loomis is going to go to the outside. Moises de la Vera, the number 6, ready to join the battle. Thompson trying to hold off Loomis coming through turn number 1. They'll get through that corner. Contact. Loomis gets together with Parker Thompson a little bit. He falls right back to the tail of that group. He just needed to let that one go, I think, but tried to force the issue on the outside, dropped a couple of wheels. Parker Thompson's lost a spot as well. De La Vera now up into 6th. So Moises de la Vera able to capitalize. He gets by Parker Thompson. Still a handful of laps to go. 5 laps remaining. Parker Thompson made that move to take over 6th spot, but lost it. He'll have to go to work now on De La Vera. Jacob Loomis, I believe, potentially back into 12th position, maybe 11th. I don't think he went all the way back to 12th. He's still ahead of Corey Enders. But Jacob Loomis was trying that position on the outside, and that's always tough, Greg, as you know, through turn number 1 there. It'll work, but you got to make sure you keep that car on the racetrack. You drop a wheel, you're in trouble.
But it's also all we talked about, how stacked up they were at 5 through 11. So, again, in other spots in this field, if you had made that mistake, it would have cost you 1 spot, maybe 2. That was the absolute worst time that it could have happened because you had so many cars lined up behind you.
Parker Thompson trying to reel back in De La Vera. We'll watch what happens. He's only 0.4 of a second back, so look for Parker Thompson. They've caught up as well to Ian Rodriguez, so now it is De La Vera trying to get Rodriguez.
And by the way, the final tally, Loomis goes from 6th to 11th as part of, again, that off-track incident.
Kyle Kirkwood, who remains on the racetrack after that incident early on that damaged his nose, a lap back, but just set fast lap of the race. That's a bonus point as well, so good for him to grab that bonus point. But again, his season off to a rough start with a couple of incidents where he had to come in to swap noses. So Kirkwood 13th on the racetrack, but with the fast lap.
And again, given the success that he had in multiple forms of different racing last year, frankly, this is also learning experience. Not everything is going to go as ridiculously well as it did for Kirkwood last year. This is something you'll learn and grow from going forward.
That's so true. Gap between second and third back to 0.7 of a second as Stingray Robb, again, putting down some good lap times. So the top 3 drivers pretty static here with about 3 laps to go. Lestoshkin by himself in 4th, but here comes this battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. They are trying to find a way by. In fact, he already has. Good move. They've both got by. Both De La Vera and Thompson by Ian Rodriguez, who goes down to 7th. Now Philippe Dennis lining up to see if he can't get by Rodriguez. So Philippe Dennis in the Fat Boy Racing entry was 10th a couple of laps ago. He's now up to 8th, ready to battle for 7th. So a good run for Philippe Dennis in the Fat Boy Racing entry.
And again, the grind continues for Parker Thompson. Points racing. Maybe that was not the plan this weekend, but he has turned it into it. Not having fast cars in either qualifying session yesterday. A 5th place finish a day ago, now 6th. Currently 2nd in the points championship. He was in 1st coming in, but managing to limit the damage, if you will, this weekend, not having the fastest car.
Agreed. You do what you can with what you have, right? That's the key, and that's what wins championships is maximizing the package that you have. It may not be a winning package, but if you can get yourself back into the top 5, which Thompson's going to try to do here as he battles with De La Vera, that would be the best he could do. A couple of top 5s after qualifying dead last in both of the races, I think, would be big for Parker Thompson. He would call that a win, I think. Parker Thompson, again, trying to spool up, coming out of the final corner to see if he can't get by Moses De La Vera. Closing up again. He was 4 or 5 tenths back last time. Gets it down to within 0.3 of a second. Parker Thompson right with him as they make the run down into 1. Parker Thompson to the inside, side by side through turn 1. Side by side through 1, Thompson and Lestoshkin. Or rather, Thompson and De La Vera. I think that was De La Vera potentially slowed there. So De La Vera, exactly like Loomis, didn't want to give it up, and he's fallen down the order. Indeed, there's Parker Thompson coming through. He's clean. We'll watch what happens here. Let's see a replay. Here they come down into the corner. There's Thompson on the inside, De La Vera on the outside through that part of the racetrack. De La Vera not wanting to give it up. And, yeah, he just drove off track. Parker was all the way out to the rumbles. So De La Vera coming back onto the racetrack. And you can see everyone making evasive maneuvers. A good run there. I wonder if Philippe Dennis got a good run on the outside of Rodriguez. I think Philippe Dennis potentially up into the 6th spot. We'll see if he was able to get back onto the racetrack. We couldn't see it from the replay. But, again, Moises De La Vera just pushing a little too hard, didn't want to give that up, and same as Loomis, off the racetrack, and you're going to lose spots when that happens.
Back to the front of the field. Again, we've just got a couple of laps left to go. Rasmus Lint has it on cruise control. He's been a couple of seconds in front of those behind him for the entire race. Daniel Frost seems to be able to get to about 4 tenths back from Stingray Robb, but hasn't found a way to get around him. And then Nikita Lestoshkin is truly running his own race. He's got 12 seconds of gap in front of him, 12 seconds of gap behind him as he currently runs in 4th. But the battles, as we have been showing you, have been from 5th on down. Could be a battle between 2nd and 3rd. Just not sure if there's enough mileage left in this race for that to truly be a battle for 2nd place.
We're going to see the white flag this next time by, I believe. And indeed, it's Junkos Racing first and second. Exclusive Autosport in third and fourth. Abel Motorsports in fifth and seventh. After a tough start, they got a couple of drivers in the front half of this grid. Thompson, P5, Jacob Abel in P7. He was able to take advantage of some of the issues coming through turns number 1, 2, and 3. Good job for Jacob Abel in the 51. White flag flying now for Rasmuth Lint. Stingray Robb second. Daniel Frost about 0.8 of a second back in third. As Greg said, it's been a lonely day for Nikita Listoshkin. He'll take that. Currently P4. Parker Thompson getting up to fifth. Now just 11 points out of the point lead as Rasmuth running as the leader. 109 points. Parker Thompson 98 points. So he definitely limited the bleeding from the the issue of not having that early pace. Final lap for the drivers here in Indy Pro 2000.
Rob, we've talked about a dominant weekend for Rasmuth Lint. How about what he has done in this race? Leading every lap of the race, never seriously challenged.
Yeah, didn't put a wheel wrong at all. His lap, if you look at his lap times, it's going to be anywhere from a 19.8 to a 20 flat. That's pretty much all he did all race long. The consistency of young Rasmuth Lint, the young Swede. It's been a bit of a Swedish invasion here in the Road to Indy and in IndyCar as well. Big run, of course, yesterday for Felix Rosenqvist in qualifying. He'll be on pole for the race here today, but his fellow countryman Rasmuth Lint in the number 10. Going to roll around this racetrack to his second career Road to Indy victory. All those wins, both of them coming here this weekend. He is your winner as the double checker displayed here at start finish. Rasmuth Lint winning by 2 seconds over Stingray Robb. Daniel Frost, another podium in third position. He'll be right there, third in points for Daniel Frost. Nikita Listoshkin coming across the line. Good run for Nikita. His best finish of the year, P4. So Exclusive Autosport, third and fourth. Junkos Racing, first and second. Parker Thompson will take another top 5. There's no doubt about that. He picked up that car and muscled his way into the top 5. Coming across the line, 6, Moises De Oliveira. Good run for De Oliveira, P6. Jacob Abel from deep in the field to 7th. Philippe Dennis in 8th. Antonio Saravalli in 9th. Corey Enders 10th. Jacob Loomis 11th. Ian Rodriguez falling down to 12th in the late going. Kyle Kirkwood 1 lap down in the 13th spot with the fast lap of the race, though. And Charles Finelli finishes off his race here as well. Good job for Charles in the number 83 machine. But, Greg, we saw some domination.
Yep.
Braden Eves in USF2000, Rasmuth Lint in Indy Pro.
Let's talk about, though, from a point standpoint, what Thompson was able to do in terms of working his car to back-to-back fifth-place finishes. Obviously came in as the points leader, having swept both events at St. Petersburg. Only 11 points back. So, again, you've now got a little time to figure it out when you go oval racing a couple of weeks from now. And for Kirkwood, able to go from last to second yesterday, but with the wing damage early, only could pick up 1 car in terms of the placement. So the 13th place finish for Kirkwood today. Devastating in terms of the point standings, but it's a long season. There's a lot more races left to go after this one.
You never know what's going to happen on the racetrack. The driver who's the point leader could get involved in the incident. We've seen that happen many, many times. But again, Rasmuth Lint, just a tremendous run. But to go back to Parker Thompson, where they were on Thursday afternoon official practice, the one practice session. We had 2 unofficial sessions and 1 official practice session that day. Where he was there and where he was in both qualifying efforts where he was last. Parker Thompson was the slowest driver on the racetrack. They weren't able to sort out the setup. What they've done and what he's been able to do here in the 2 races, a couple of back-to-back 5th place finishes. Absolutely amazing for Parker Thompson to be able to get that job done.
And let's talk about the efforts of Junkos Racing. They put both cars on the front row for this race. Both cars hold that position. First for Rasmuth Lint, but also Stingray Robb started second, finished second as well.
Yeah, Junkos Racing winning the championship last year with Rinus VK. They have not let up off the throttle at all. Ricardo Junkos' team is rolling here in this Indy Pro 2000 category. They're looking really good as well in Indy Lights. But again, here he comes out of the car, and he is pumped. Rasmuth Lint, a couple of big wins. You know, our folks watching on the Road to Indy TV app or roadtoindy.tv back home in Sweden will be absolutely pumped. And here's the 2 Junkos drivers. Little embrace. Dan Anderson coming down as well from Anderson Promotions. He's the man behind this whole program. Dan coming to give a little handshake there to Rasmuth Lint, who gets the win. Stingray Robb in second. Daniel Frost in third. Nikita Listoshkin fourth. Parker Thompson fifth. Moises De Oliveira ends up in the 6th spot. Jacob Abel in 7th. Philippe Dennis 8th, Antonio Saravalli, and Corey Enders rounding out the top 10. Let's head down to pit lane and Katie Hargett.
And Rob, Rasmuth Lind led every single lap here in the Indy Pro 2000 category of the IMS road course. Rasmuth, what did you figure out about this course?
Yeah, I always liked Indy, and especially I want to thank Junkers Racing for amazing weekend and perfect car week. Yeah, we just figure out a good way for the race, so and we just bring it home, so I'm very happy.
And a dominant weekend for him it was, Greg and Rob.
Yes, it was, Katie. Thank you very much. Again, Rasmus Lint, your winner. His teammate Stingray Robb comes in second. Daniel Frost, Nikita Listoshkin in row number 2. Or finishing third and fourth, I should say. Parker Thompson finishing 5th. Moises de Lavara in 6th. Jacob Abel, Philippe Dennis, Antonio Saravalli, and Corey Enders rounding out your top 10. Podium for this Indy Pro 2000 series coming your way in a matter of moments. The NTT Indy cars will be on track at 11:15 in approximately 25 minutes.